What's up, Flaniverse? We're back to talk about the Week 18 Saturday 2-game slate. Should be a gross one. I don't know if I can call it a fun one, but it's going to be something. There's some fun to be had here. There's also the Browns with a quarterback committee. It seems like kind of messy situation there. So we might only have 3 quarterbacks to play here, but I'm excited to talk about this slate because I have my friend Derrick Brown joining me. If you've been playing fantasy football for any kind of time, you know DBro. He is a legend in the space. The guy who knew about Puka Nacua before anybody knew about Puka Nacua. And then I'm calling back to Puka Nacua. You had several great calls this year, but that's one that stuck with me.
On thick, my man. I love you to death, but woohoo! It's getting high up in air, baby.
It's real talk. No, I'm happy to be here with my friend Derrick Brown to talk through this Saturday 2 games that we're going to be going as usual, position by position, quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, tight ends, defenses, kickers. DBro, if you're willing to, I go through the main slate position by position, and then we go just like a quick look at the showdown slates, also just like 10 minutes on each showdown slate, looking at ownership projections, prices and stuff, and kind of think through like who are the best plays here. I'm
down for whatever the hell you want to talk about, Neil. We don't have any kind of script. Like, I'm just walking in this. Like, this is all vibes, baby. I got my sleep pants on. Like,
what kind of sleep pants are you wearing? You wearing flannel sleep pants?
Deadpool ones, dude. Look.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah. I have flannel.
Just like you have stood up with actual pants on, Neil.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any pants on. That's why I'm not standing up right now.
That's why you never stand up. I know.
Yeah, exactly right. No, I'm excited to be here with DBro. Always prepared. If you know DBro, he's never available to talk during the NFL season. I've tried to get him on the cage match, on the Fantasy Points cage match.
Oh, you have run from me. You don't want to. You don't want me to break my undefeated streak. I am because legit he won't come undefeated against night. Neil. Just to put that out there, I am undefeated. No lies are being told.
He is 0-0 against me. That is true. He is technically undefeated because he has never been brave enough to enter the cage with me and Jake.
All right. No, that's how it's gonna be. Let's go.
He's a busy man. I get it. He does the work, and he's always ready to talk some football. So excited to be here with DBro. We're going to be going position by position as usual. Good to see many of you in chat. This late night, it is 11:20 Central Time, which means it is past midnight Eastern Time as we are doing this stream. Like I said, we're going to be going position by position. If you are not already subscribed to the Flaniverse YouTube channel, I just have to give a quick shout out that I'm trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the NFL season. Little over 4,200 at this point, so nearly 800 left to go. So if you would show some support, subscribe to the channel.
Support this man.
Would appreciate it. Thank you, DBro.
He's worn the same flannel shirt twice in 1 year. He needs more. Please,
I need more flannel shirts. Yeah, I'm rewearing all my flannel shirts. All right, DBro, let's start with quarterbacks as usual. Lamar Jackson is 8,000. He is the chalk. He is the chalk of the slate. He is also the highest projected of the slate. This is interesting. The last time I looked at this, DBro, the ownership projections were very, very flat. Now Lamar Jackson's kind of taken away. 47% projected ownership for Lamar Jackson at 8,000 against Cleveland. Baltimore does have something to play for in this game. Yep. Actually, let's start there. Motivations on this slate. How much do we care? Like, how much do we think motivations actually matter on this slate? Because I kind of feel like, well, let me hear your thoughts.
I mean, they matter a lot, actually, dude. Like Baltimore. And do you want me to just lay out the 2 games on motivations, or you just want me to talk Cleveland and Baltimore?
Just let's lay out both 2 games to start. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, Baltimore wants to win this game. They can clinch the AFC North with a win here. And seeding, it's here or there. I mean, so like, plus like the line is -20, man. Like we are seeing by the books and by the motivation that Baltimore is going to play their guys. Now, obviously, like if they're beating the ever living crap out of the Browns, which the line tells us they're going to, we know they're going to. It could be maybe they're sitting guys at the end of the 4th quarter, But before that, like, but the way that I always look at that, Neil, is that they got to get there, right? Like they got to blow the Browns out and put up points and put up fantasy points to go sit on the bench. So unless like if you're wanting to fade this or you want to fade the Ravens, then you should be locking like the Baltimore Ravens defense, because if they get a defensive touchdown or two, then maybe some of the parts and pieces of the Baltimore Ravens fail on this 2-gamer. But like, so through that, but as far as the other game goes, Cincinnati is going all out. They're going balls to the wall, like they're pedal to the metal, whatever metaphor or trope you want to throw out there, they're going for it, man. They have to win, and they need losses by Denver and Miami to get into the playoffs. Pittsburgh is also going to go full out, because if they win, they can clinch the AFC North with a win and the number 3 seed. So I think both of these games, I think that you're looking at 3 extremely motivated teams on this 2-gamer, and then there's the wet fart that is Cleveland.
Yeah, no, that's I had not even seen how much the spread is. Like, that is insane. The spread for Baltimore
-20, bro, and I think it opened at -19. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen a spread that big. Like, and maybe this has been tweeted out. I don't know if I've ever seen one that damn big.
I just want to address something. Fantasy Guru Drew in chat says -20 is usually the spread I give Neil in our head-to-heads. How is your cage match record, bro? Because I believe it's 0-1 for Drew, and it's 1-0 for Neil when Drew has entered.
I mean, I'm the only undefeated person here, so I mean, why are you running, Neil?
Come on. Actually, I actually thought of it. After you started talking trash this week, I did think like, I could have actually done Thursday this week, because there was no Thursday night football.
But you chose not to.
Yeah, so I do regret. I did have one opportunity where I actually could have brought you on, because you might have agreed to it. My guess is that you would have ducked me anyway. You would have found an excuse to not be available on Thursday anyway, because you're too scared. But
them head-to-head, baby. Got to send me head-to-head. Let's go.
Justin Steele in the chat. Good to see.
Let's go. Hey,
Chicago Steele. Cubs All-Star Justin Steele. Both Drew and Steele are
somewhere I hear, $100 million man, I believe is the nickname, right?
Not yet, but it's coming. If it's not coming, then the Cubs are insane. But yeah, should be coming soon for Justin Steele to be $100 million man. All right, appreciate you breaking down the motivations for this game, DBro. But like we said, the Ravens are sufficiently motivated. How are we feeling about 47% ownership going to Lamar on this 2-game slate?
I mean, it's justified, dude. It's justified. I think you're going to see like probably the optimal is probably going to be Lamar or Burrow, which, I mean, the roster percentages is telling us that. I think the biggest problem and why it's probably so high, I'd be very curious. Do you remember what it was at earlier, yesterday or the day before? Like, I think whatever you were going to see, like small percentage of DTR probably carrying like 15 to maybe 20% on this 2-gamer, that probably just got like all that went to Lamar is what I'm taking out of that.
I think you're right. Yep. Yeah. So when I looked earlier, it was showing like basically 0% to both Bailey Zappi and DTR, which I think is probably right. Like who in their right mind is playing Bailey Zappi? I guess you could play either of them just for the sake
of
like,
get like, what do they get, like 2 quarters a piece? Like,
yeah,
for them to even get double digits, like, I mean, DTR can't even freaking get double digits when he plays a whole damn game. We think he's going to do that when he plays a half. Bailey Zappi doesn't run, so he's not going to do it either. Like, I have no problem just full fading both those dudes.
Me too. I was like, the only reason you could make a case for them is like if one of them gets 8 fantasy points, like for DFS purposes, if one of them gets 8 fantasy points and that like the price difference is enough to allow you to get to Jamar Chase and T Higgins and like all the studs, like it could be enough. But yeah, it's tough. I'm probably
it would have to be like running 150 and
exactly
a small like 2%, on each guy, like nothing more than that. Like outside of like, even if I'm playing like a like a 20 max or whatever, like I'm probably not getting to those guys. It's strictly MME like 150. But I don't disagree. And like if I was gonna have a lean, it would probably be honestly Bailey Zappi, because DTR has just been so damn bad. Like I think a lot of people's take would be, what's DTR in the rushing? Bro, he doesn't really run. So that rushing is fictitious. So for me, it's really you're playing Bailey Zappi and he gets a garbage time touchdown, maybe 2.
Yep, I'm with you. Bailey Zappi would be my preference if I'm playing either of the 2 of them. But yeah, for the most part, even in a 150 set, if you want to just not include them, I think that's probably pretty.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
The projection difference totally different. What about Lamar versus Burrow? So like, let's talk about the quarterbacks that we are willing to play, and Russell Wilson is kind of like in his own range because he's way cheaper than the other two, so you don't need the same kind of fantasy score. But Burrow and Jackson project within 2.5 fantasy points of each other. Jackson's $500 more expensive. Do you have a preference between the two of them, and factoring in that Jackson getting 47% ownership, Burrow getting 28%? Are you comfortable with that difference in ownership there?
I'm comfortable with it. I mean, my favorite quarterback on this slate is Burrow. So, you look at the path for Lamar and stuff like that. This feels like, and it might not be like, I think if Lamar wasn't so chalky, Neil, like I would want to take the contrarian approach and being like Lamar in the passing attack. But like from what roster percentage is showing us and like kind of telling us, everybody believes this is a Lamar blow up spot to be like, I am going to be the MVP, like basically what he did against the Giants. But to me, I almost want to just fade that and play even more Burrow, considering if they were what and what with roster percentage, I think you can make more of a case for Lamar, but I'm more on, I want to play more Derrick Henry. And I don't see, maybe there's the case where Lamar and Derrick Henry both make the optimal. But in most different cases, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Neil, with the way you're thinking about it, one of these guys at their price points probably makes the optimal and one of them doesn't, unless the Cincinnati and Pittsburgh game disappoints and it fails. Because if that's the case, then you're seeing more Baltimore pieces make it. But for me, I just want to play a ton of Burrow, dude. Like we know how that offense is going to run. We talked about this off air, but I'm assuming Chase Brown is not playing. So if that's the case, you're looking at the Bengals. Could they just lean into more of the pass? Like, I mean, when really like Chase Brown has been getting a crap ton of volume. He's been their CMC and stuff. But like when you're going from Chase Brown to probably workhorse Khalil Herbert, maybe some Travion on passing downs. Like if you're the Bengals, aren't you just going to pass the damn ball even more?
Yeah. So I just want to, and I know you did not say anything contrary to this, but just because I think a lot of people are going to question, like, can you play Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in the same line?
You definitely can. Like the Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry correlation when they used to smash and both win GPPs is still firmly, it's possible, and you can do that. I'm not saying that you can't.
Yeah, and that's what I pulled up here is just like the fantasy point correlation between Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and you can see here there are several weeks where it's like Lamar Jackson put up 24.6, Derrick Henry 35.9, and on a 2-game slate, like even this would play like Lamar Jackson 34.4, Derrick Henry 16.6. So I just wanted to make sure, if I don't want anybody to hear differently from what we're talking about, like you can absolutely play them together, like they are like probably a little bit negatively correlated, but like on a 2-game slate, it's very possible for Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry to both hit at the same point. And you can see that several times actually smashing together this year. But many times
they will. Like, they're the engine of the offense, man. If the Ravens go out and score 4 to 5 touchdowns, Lamar is probably involved in 2 to 3 of those, and Henry's getting the leftovers.
Yeah. AJ Gambino says, DBro knows DFS. The crossover I didn't know I want. Of course, DBro knows DFS. DBro knows ball.
Oh, dude.
DBro has been playing DFS.
I need to get you in the know. Full live finals, like qualifiers, all that kind of mess, man.
I knew you originally from DFS. From your days at FTN doing DFS content is when I actually discovered DBro. Before we were ever friends, I was reading his stuff at FTN. Yeah, great DFS player. But yeah, so your favorite is Burrow rather than Lamar. And so I wrote it up earlier today saying I liked Lamar when it was looking like Lamar was going to actually be more contrarian or like getting the exact same ownership as Burrow. Now that they're getting the exact
are you surprised that Lamar is running away? Like, do you think when we flip over the cards, it's going to be more split, or do you think Lamar is going to be that damn chalky? Because I kind of lean like, I don't know if he's going to be that popular. Like, do you think he will be, Neil? Like, I kind of see like both these guys canceling each other out.
I think that he will be, because I actually think Bailey Zappi's ownership might be high here at 8%. So I kind of
I think that's a little bit high.
I wouldn't be surprised to see. So looking at these numbers, actually Russell Wilson kind of stands out as too low also. I wouldn't be surprised if like Russell Wilson comes in at like 22%, and maybe Lamar loses a little bit as a result. I do think Lamar will separate as the chalkiest, just because he's so fun to watch. Like, he can clearly put up, 35 fantasy points, whereas Burrow can, but like it's less likely, especially against Pittsburgh without bringing people along. So I do think he'll be the chalkiest. I don't know if it'll get to quite this level, but I wouldn't be shocked if it does.
Burrow and Russ just feel a little bit low to me. Like, I think Russ is probably going to come somewhere in like the 20% range. I think Burrow is probably going to settle in somewhere in like the low to mid 30% range, but maybe I'm off on this, Neil.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds reasonable. Like, I think like Burrow is just like, he's clearly a different price level than the other two. And like the matchup with Cincinnati doesn't really scare you. And it's pretty clear like who you want to pair him with. It's like you're pairing with Pickens and or Freiermuth, and like,
and we know it's like you can't run on the Baltimore Ravens. So like, you know what I mean? Like, it just feels like a spot where I would like, I won't be shocked if we flip over the cards, Neil, and Burrow actually is the chalkiest quarterback.
Yeah. I would be surprised. I wouldn't say I'd be shocked, but like I'd be a little bit surprised. I think like Lamar is probably going to be the chalkiest because they're close enough in price, and like Lamar is just like a better fantasy producer than Burrow, that I'd be a little bit surprised. But yeah, not shocked. I agree with you there. Josh Gillum says Lamar's passing yards prop is 207. Is that the usual? Seems low. Seems a little bit low to me.
That feels really low. Here, hold on.
Where are you seeing that, Josh? Feels like, I wonder if that's a matter of like the spread being so high that maybe they're anticipating that he's going to be out of the game in the fourth quarter. Yeah, and running the entire second half.
Maybe
that could be the case. But yeah, it does.
I'm pulling up
on DraftKings.
I'm seeing if I can find where his passing props were before. Interesting.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking, where are you seeing passing?
He says it's on DraftKings.
Okay, I see it now. Feels low.
It does and it doesn't, because it's like this game's probably over in 2.5 quarters. So it's like, if it were going to be a competitive game, it would definitely seem low. But in this particular game, it's like, why would they even throw it in the second half when they're up 14-0 at halftime, 17-0 at halftime? I don't know. I kind of understand that line.
The Browns aren't going to push them at all.
Yeah. So you prefer Burrow to Jackson. If Russ did come in at 17%, that does kind of stand out to me as like, that's a number I would want to get on top of. Would you agree with that? Like, you'd rather be above 17% Russell Wilson?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think if I was running 150s, probably like, I want to be probably 25, 27% Russ, somewhere in the 20s, maybe even 30%, depending on, because again, like, I think if you're full fading just the Cleveland quarterbacks, or even only like a 2 to 4% sprinkle in that, like, there's still something to be said for like, 30, 35% Lamar, 30% Burrow, you know what I mean? Like, matching all the guys in just a sprinkle, or if you're going to just full fade them, like, I don't have a problem being like in that 30% range of Russ.
Yeah. I'm also curious your thoughts on, so I pulled up schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed over the past 5 games, 2 quarterbacks.
Cincinnati's better.
So it's a great matchup for Cincinnati over the past 5. Joey Porter Jr. missed at least the last game, right? He's missed at least one game.
He did, but so what I'll say about Joey Porter Jr. is he hasn't been shadowing as much.
Okay.
He's been playing one side. If he does shadow in this game, I think it's probably T. Higgins and not Jamar Chase, because he doesn't go to the slot, and they hide Chase in the slot constantly.
Okay. Nice.
But to that point though, Neil, if you look over the last few weeks, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, their pass defense, has been very, very similar to the Patriots in the sense, and people will be like, what the hell are you talking about? But like, really, like, if you don't throw a Joey Porter Jr., you're great. Like, the rest of their corners suck. They're not that good. Like, the numbers for the Steelers pass defense over the last few weeks it's not good, dude. So like, I'm not worried about that pass defense at all. Like, I think Burrow is going to carve them up.
Yeah. We've got a couple questions about Pittsburgh's motivation in the event of is it Baltimore? If Baltimore wins, Steelers may rest everyone, right? Michael says.
Yeah, but they kick off at the same time.
No, they don't kick off at the same
time.
Oh,
wait. Sorry. No, that's Saturday. So.
Yeah, so I actually want to look into this more because I had heard that a lot of people were saying. So if so Baltimore Cleveland is the first game tomorrow for some reason. So then you have Pittsburgh Cincinnati in the night game, and
so why would the Steelers not? So if the Ravens win, the Steelers aren't going to care about it.
I think that's the suggestion here, and I wanted to look up team motivations to make sure that we have this right because I've seen multiple people bring that up, and I don't recall exactly what the motivation is there. So I want to look into that before we continue, because that's obviously an important thing. Yep. If the Steelers are at risk of rescuing everybody. Okay, let's see. No, I think that they're motivated regardless. Let's see. So if the Ravens lose, they can win the AFC North. If the Steelers lose, they risk the Chargers jumping them for the 5 seed. So I'm reading Anthony Amico's.
I just pulled up the same damn thing. I was about to shout out Amico because he always has a fantastic freaking motivational article.
Yeah. So I mean, we can just read it off, right? He says the outlook is the schedule in here is important as the Ravens play the first game of the weekend. If they win, Pittsburgh will no longer be able to win the AFC North and get the number 3 seed. So they could be motivated to rest players. Mike Tomlin has not been in a situation yet to play for seeding in the 14 team.
Do you see Tomlin resting players?
No, yeah, it'd be in a
divisional game where they can keep. Because here's the other part about this. Do you think the freaking Steelers want to face the Bengals in the playoffs? Or do you think they would happily knock them out?
Right.
There is no way in hell Pittsburgh wants to see Cincinnati get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like no team in the AFC wants to see the Bengals in the playoffs because Joe Burrow, if they get into the dance.
Or would it be Josh said it'd be the Ravens? I thought I had heard that it might be the Ravens they would face, which is the same thing. They don't want to face the Ravens either in the playoffs.
No, what I'm saying is, if you're the Steelers, you want to beat them this week because if they lose, they don't even have a freaking shot at the playoffs.
Right. Yeah, so I do think that they are sufficiently motivated. Regardless,
I don't see Tomlin sitting guys. Like I get it and I understand like the possibility of that. I don't see Mike Tomlin sitting guys. I just don't.
Yeah, and at the very least, they're playing for seed.
Without the other motivations of being like, if we beat this team, we do not see them in the playoffs. Like that is sufficient enough. And I know I'm like using some bro science here, but like tell me that that's not a real thing. Like
it's a real thing. Yeah,
the Steelers do not want to play the Bengals in the damn playoffs. Nobody wants to play them.
Yeah. So, my homie says it's about playing Houston versus the Ravens first round. Yeah, you'd much rather play Houston than the Ravens in the first round. So it is still like sufficient motivation there for the Steelers to win this game regardless. Okay, just want to like double check that because I saw enough people bring it up. I was like, wait,
and that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. I guess like when I was writing it up, I was like, there's certain coaches I'm like looking at week 18 where I'm like, you're not playing your guys the entire damn game, but you know, considering that's another like the Lions last week. Like Dan Campbell's not sitting dudes, Mike Tomlin ain't sitting no dudes, and again, like I was saying, like. From the simple motivation outside of seeding and the AFC North and all that kind of shit, the Steelers want to beat the Bengals because they don't want to see them in the postseason. Period.
Yep. Reasonable. All right. So getting back just to quarterback talk, I got a sidetrack for a little bit.
It's a good point, dude. Like, I don't know if you're like me, like all of the seeding and playoff scenarios, like after you look at this stuff and you kind of dive into it, like a bunch of different times, like it feels like your head's kind of swimming. Like, wait a minute,
it's a lot to talk.
Well, and it's like there's so many this week where it's like, well, shit. But if this happens and this happens, and they're not playing on the same damn day, like I was talking about earlier, I was like, oh crap, you're right. Like it kind of all gets jumbled.
It does, yeah. It's tough. But I think this like the 2 game slate is a little bit easier in that Cleveland's out. We don't have to worry about Cleveland. I think everybody else is kind of sufficiently motivated. So like this is.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at the chat with Connor's.
DBro science.
That one just. I saw that shit. That just got me. Good tip of the cap. That was
Ben
nice.
says, when asked about resting players, Tomlin said he hadn't even thought about it. He's worried about getting back on the winning track.
That's one of those times where Mike Tomlin, you could just see him like stare the reporter down and just
like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah,
like,
why would I rest players?
Like, come on. No.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, quarterback talk, or we were getting back to the field. Sorry. So it's all vibes, dude. I'm just we're just talking shit right now.
So I think we're down. We're only playing 3 quarterbacks most likely. I think even in a 150 set, I don't know if I'm going to play any Bailey Zappi. I might play like 5% or something, but I don't even know if I will.
To me, it would have to be to play Zappi. It would have to be. I would have to have like built just like wedging in everybody. Like you could build a lineup where I could get Derrick Henry, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, like all like these expensive pieces all in the same lineup. Then you can talk me into playing Bailey Zappi. Outside of that, no. And I haven't built yet, so I don't even know if that's possible. If that's possible, then I might take a random pew with
and if you do that, you're probably running into duped lineups. On a 2-game slate, your lineup is going to be duped.
Because anybody playing Zappi that's the reason they're doing it. So
yeah.
Yep.
Fantasy Guru Drew.
Bet that he doesn't make the damn optimal. I'd rather make that bet.
Yeah. Fantasy Guru Drew, who is admittedly kind of an idiot, has never really won anything in DFS. But he says, I'm tempted to lock Russ in a 150 set. The salary savings.
Drew, come on here and defend your honor. You can't let
It's too late. It's too late now. It's too late now.
This is ridiculous.
No, but Russ is he's a totally different price tier than Lamar and Burrow. Not getting that much. I think that he makes a good point. The rare good from Fantasy Guru Drew. I think Russ looks like a really strong play at 17% ownership. I do think like I wrote up Lamar as my favorite quarterback when like he and Burrow were both getting around 30% ownership and Russ was right there too. Like when I looked at this earlier, it was very, very flat. Now that it has separated, I think you and I are sort of on the same page of like probably too much going to Lamar in a game where like they're probably not going to be motivated the entire game because they're going to be up by so much. They're going to be running it out late. So I do kind of think like I probably want to be a little bit over on Burrow, and I probably want to be over at least 10% over the field on Russ. I think. Do you think that?
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think just looking at that from a game theory perspective too, like, and how I want to kind of build for this 2-gamer, it's like I want to pick like one kind of, and we'll get it to when we get to running backs and all that kind of stuff. I want to pick like in some lineups, I'm full fading the Browns just straight up. In some lineups, I want to pick like the one garbage time piece that maybe scores from Cleveland. And the other ways that I'm building is like, if I'm going to play some Lamar, but if I'm more or less like in most of my builds, I'm not playing him and I'm playing more Burrow, then I want to pick out the one piece or 2 pieces out of Baltimore and say, okay, if they score 4 times, this is where the touchdowns go. So, I mean, like, you can easily talk me into playing Henry and Zay Flowers in a lineup and not playing Lamar.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. That would, he's expensive enough. That makes sense to me. How are you thinking about stacking with these different quarterbacks? Like with Lamar, are you requiring any kind of stack with Lamar, or
if I'm playing Henry with him, then I'm only probably playing 1 pass catcher. Playing 2 feels a little bit more thin because, I mean, you're basically saying he has to throw for 2 touchdowns. And maybe even the other guy that gets the touchdown, if it's a random guy like Isaiah Likely, maybe he doesn't even make the damn optimal.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, if I'm playing Lamar, I'm probably single stacking him with a pass catcher. And I will probably have Derrick Henry on a lot of different Lamar teams.
Okay.
I think there's also a path too, like it's viable on a damn 2-gamer to just play Lamar and Derrick Henry and not stack him with any pass catchers. I am more inclined to stack him with 1 though. That's probably gonna be Zay Flowers.
I'm generally inclined to stack, but on a 2-gamer, I agree with you. Like it's certainly plausible. Like you can play him without any.
If Henry runs in 2 and he runs in 2, or he throws 1 to like some
100-yard rushing bonus and a touchdown, and he throws 1 to Rando. Yeah. There are ways absolutely for it to work without a stacking partner. How about Joe Burrow? Would you require at least 2 pass catchers, or do you think like
it's
okay.
2? Go ahead, Neil. Sorry.
I was gonna say we'll get to the Jamar Chase wanting to get him the triple crown later. Like there's some like reason to think like maybe he just like maybe it's just Burrow to Chase the entire game.
Probably
But
is.
so if that is the case, like maybe you don't need to require 2. I don't know. I generally do loosen up my rules on a 2-game slate. Like allow things like just one pass catcher.
I'll say this: you don't have to double stack him, or if you want to double stack him, you can go with the route of like Chase. I think Chase is a must. I'll say that. I'm not building a Burrow team without including Jamar Chase. So Chase is damn near lock play for me. Like I'm just gonna lock button him. Like I don't know. I don't care on a 2-gamer. You got to make stands, and Chase is one of them. So I'm gonna basically lock button Chase. But you can play him with Chase and Khalil Herbert, like because again we're making the assumption that Chase Brown is out. So I think playing him with Herbert and Chase is gonna how I'm probably gonna attack it almost. But if you wanted to go like full Cincy onslaught, like you could play him with Herbert, T, and Chase. Like I'm fine with that. Like I don't see myself, Neil, getting to a lot of like Yoshivas and Gesicki. Like, are they in play? Sure, but Steelers have been good versus tight ends. Gesicki's been a ghost in most different weeks when T has been active. We're assuming T is a full go and a must-win game for the Bengals. Like, this is like put up or shut up that you don't win this game. There is no tomorrow. So if T's playing, T's a full go. So I don't have a lot of interest. Like I think like for Cincinnati, we know where the damn ball goes, man. It's Chase, it's T, and it's a running back. On most weeks.
I guess so my one counterpoint would be like if Yoshivas gets 1 touchdown with 3 catches for 30 yards, that might be enough on
and
this.
He
like
could. He scored last time he played them.
Yeah, so it's like it's at least possible for Yoshi, but like I agree with you. Like he's not a priority. He's in a 150 set. You're going there, whereas if you're playing 20, you're not necessarily getting to Yoshivas. So yeah, I think maybe I'm nitpicking because I 150 max, where it's like in a 150 max, I think Yoshivas starts to make sense. But we'll talk about the pass catchers later. But
I think he makes sense. I just looked at him as like in that price point where I'm looking at it, like I find myself, and we'll talk about when we get to wide receivers, but I find myself wanting to go in other directions and not Yoshivas. And he's in play though. Like it's not like Pittsburgh has been good versus slot wide receivers. Like I'm pulling it up right now. They're middle of the road. Since week 12, they're 15th in PPR points per target. So it's not like they're good. But if you look over the entirety of the season, they've had some weeks where they have gotten absolutely just eaten alive by slot wide receivers.
Interesting. All right. So play. We'll get to wide receivers. We'll talk about.
Are you with me? Kind of backing up the train here I know we're kind of all over the place, Neil. Sorry. Because I'm going down tangents and shit because I haven't built for this slate, so I'm literally we're thinking through this.
I haven't either. Yeah, I haven't either.
So this is a lot of just theory talk. But is Chase a lock button for you? How much Chase are you going to have?
So I wouldn't say a lock button.
Teams without Chase.
Probably not. So I wouldn't call him a lock button in a 150 because I'm just also not. I don't have the balls to lock button anybody in 150. I rarely.
I get it. I
have done it in the past.
And when I say that, I don't play a lot of 150s. I'm like a 10 max, 3 max.
If I'm playing 5 lineups, I probably have Chase in all of them. Yeah.
Like a single entry, I'm starting my build with Chase. 3 max, I'm playing at least 2 of those teams with Chase, maybe all 3.
There is some small part of me as somebody who is playing a ton of Chase, and I'm planning on just like leaning into Chase this weekend. There's some small part of me that's like, what if Joe Burrow is just like it's misdirection? Like because he keeps saying like the triple crown is important to me.
No,
like, I don't think so. I don't think so either. But like
I can't even gal brain that, Neil. I can't even get past it. Like I can't even
all right.
talk myself into the gal brain. I think it's real, dude. I think
it's real too.
I think Chase wants to get the triple crown. Burrow wants to get him the triple crown for all the reasons of like, because dude, tell me in some levels, like Burrow's not pissed the hell off. Like he's got his 2-star receivers that both are like, what are we doing in 2025? T's gone, chase it and sign. Like, what the shit are you doing? Like pay these guys.
Yeah.
So like if I'm Burrow, I'm like, nah, we lighten it up, man. I want to just rub this in y'all's faces and pay these dudes.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And the quote is like, we've been playing together since college. Like we're a mind meld. I don't know what the quote is exactly, but it's like he clearly like has a connection with Chase, wants Chase to get the Triple Crown. So I'm leaning into it. But I was just like the counterpoint would be like, what if it is misdirection? Like, and that's why because I think that way. That's probably why I can't get too like.
No, I mean, I look, I'm down for the gal brain. This is just one of those things where I'm like, nah. Because you always want to lean into the variance and stuff like that. Like, especially on these small slates, it's like, okay, if shit goes sideways, how does it go sideways and who benefits? You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. We got some comments I want to hit on, but before we get there, I want to ask Russell Wilson, when you play Russell Wilson, how much do you think you're stacking? You think you're going single stack, double stack? How you playing that one?
I'm doubling him because if he's the optimal quarterback, he's not running. He doesn't run anymore. No. So he's got to throw for probably 2 to 3 touchdowns. On this slate with Lamar and Burrow, he's probably going to have to throw for 3. Considering, I mean, maybe he can get there with 2 if maybe he can get there with 2 if he runs one in like he did versus the freaking Chiefs. But the chances of that, I think, are very, very, very slim. So I think he's got I'm probably carrying 2 guys with playing Russ. And I don't know if it's a hot take, but I don't want to play George Pickens on that. We'll get to it, but really? I don't want to. No, I don't want to play George Pickens.
All right. We're gonna get to the pass catchers because that is sort of surprising to me here because you were pretty in on Pickens in like best ball season. I feel like you were one of the people that I drafted with who was the most in on him. So we will get there. I want to touch on a few things. First of all, Nikki says, do you see a Baltimore script where the defense outscores the rest of the players? They build a lead that way. Henry runs one in and then rest the starters from that game and then full stack the second game.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I also think just generally stacking stacking one game versus the other on 2 games late makes a lot of sense. Just hoping that one game outpaces the other by a significant margin makes a ton of sense on the 2 games late. So if you want to play
I think it is perfectly plausible to play just Henry in the Baltimore defense, because if Henry scores, because here's the other thing, Neil, how many weeks, and I got to pull this up, how many weeks that I still think, and this is my elongated way to say that I think that Henry still has some touchdown regression that is yet to hit. He went how many different weeks? I got to look back on it. He went now, hold on one second. He scored 2 touchdowns. Now he's double tuttied the last 2 games, or no, excuse me. He scored once last week, but before that, he didn't score for the previous 4 games. So I don't know. I think this is a 2 or 3 touchdown game from Henry incoming.
DBro, I want to. I have some questions. I was about to ask you to talk shit about Fantasy Guru Drew because he sent us a text to our group saying, "All right, I think Kid is finally asleep, lighting a cigar and gonna build. Won't bombard the stream unless you badmouth me again." So who knows if Fantasy Guru Drew is going to show up? So do you want to badmouth
on here and broadcast from that cheap hot tub that he sits in half the time?
All right, I think that's
excuse me. Excuse me.
Yeah. So I saw I was gonna talk shit. I was gonna do the segment of talking shit about Fantasy Guru Drew, and then I saw him show up before we got there. So I had to give you an opportunity there. Look at Drew. He's got a cigar.
Cheers, gentlemen.
What are we sipping on?
I couldn't let you guys have all the fun.
Dude, do you know how much it killed me the last stream that y'all did? And I was laying in bed. I was like, oh shit, I got it. I can't. I'm too tired. I fell asleep, fighting with myself to not get on here.
No, I hear you. And I've been wanting to join for the last hour, and I had my kid coming out every 5 minutes. So now I'm finally here. I'm ready to go.
Let's go, baby.
Love to see it. Love to see it. All right.
And as much shit as we've been talking, we're still basically on quarterbacks. We're still on quarterbacks right now.
This is we're good. We're gonna go faster through the others. We've taken longer than, but we sure. Yeah, exactly. I did want to wait. Connor says, I want to thank DBro Stradamus personally for helping me take down my big money league. Took down the Mayfield Evans stack on the backs of Jaylen McBride.
Comment up. No.
Oh yeah. Just the whole screen. Let's just do this the entire stream. Nobody needs to see Drew. Love that.
This is perfect.
You'd rather be the voice from beyond, Drew. Just not seeing all I heard.
No, but I'm going to echo that because your call on Jayden in the offseason led me. I mean, I made the finals with the Jayden team on draft.
Oh, bro, yeah.
And I profited pretty well on Best Ball. I didn't win anything big, but I did well. You were all over Jayden and a lot of other good calls. So
dude,
cheers to you. Appreciate you.
He was such a steal and
yeah.
That was a great one.
Entire year, man. Like ADP never caught up to him.
No, you're
it's
right.
so funny. Like
we're not going to
fade
touch
a rookie quarterback that runs. I don't understand it. And Neil is apparently frozen, giving a toast. Love it.
Am I frozen?
No, you're good now.
You're good now. You're good now.
So I do want to move on to running backs, but before we do, I did not hear about the Jermaine Burton domestic abuse allegation.
I didn't see that at all. I know he didn't make the trip with the team.
I saw that. Yeah,
random. He still being a shithead. So
we don't need to get into. We don't have time to get into that because we need to focus. But that's a bummer to hear. Yeah. But Drew, before we move on to running backs, I just want to hear your thoughts real quick on quarterbacks. Can you give us a quick rundown of how you feel about the quarterbacks on
I was playing around building a little bit earlier. I think the biggest thing for me, you guys talked a little bit about Jamar Chase going out of order, but the biggest thing for me is the salary savings. I mean, I want Jamar Chase and I want Derrick Henry. In that situation, Derrick Henry is going to be a great play. I don't expect them to rest him. I think he's going to run for 100 and a touchdown. So I think he's going to be a must-have. And I think Jamar Chase is going to be a must-have. How do you afford those two plus Lamar or even Burrow at that point? And so as I'm looking at it, I think Russ, I exaggerated a little bit by locking him, but I do think that he's probably going to be my top quarterback tomorrow. It sounds weird, but $2,000 less of savings, it goes a long way tomorrow.
No, it's significant. Yeah. No, I'm with you. You look like a great play. I think that's probably sharp.
Do you think are you like me though, Drew? Do you think he's got to throw for 2 touchdowns? Like you're doubling him if you're playing him?
Yeah.
I think he probably has to throw for 2, maybe 3 to be the optimal.
Ideally 3. He doesn't need to be the top scoring quarterback. He can actually lose in top scoring quarterback by 8 to 10 points and still be the optimal play. So yes, I would love for him to run one in, but he has to throw for at least 2. That's for sure.
I agree.
Yeah. He could throw the 2 to the same player though. Would be my counter to that would be they could both be to Pickens or both be to Freiermuth or whatever.
Yeah, or even Warren. I think Warren's a really interesting play tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we'll get to it, man. I love Warren.
Yeah,
love him.
So I think it's viable to single stack him for the 150. I agree with you. Like if you're playing anything that's not the biggest fields, you probably want to just double stack him. But for the lotto, I think it's viable to single stack him. So just wanted to
25 to 30% Russ feels about right for 150.
Yeah,
that sounds good. Yeah,
this is maybe a little crazy, but a Steelers 1-1 bringing back with 2 to 3 Bengals is not out of the question for tomorrow.
No, not at all. Yeah,
it's not. I mean, Cincinnati's going to push Pittsburgh. That's going to happen. The question is, can Pittsburgh push back?
Right.
Yep, that's exactly right. And at home and against the Bengals defense, who has given up a lot of points, I see it happening.
It's kind of funny, man. Like I almost feel like Russ should be way more popular. You would think, with considering how this game went the last time these two damn teams played, and Russ almost threw for 500 damn yards, but he's not.
Yeah.
So it's a good point about him.
Yeah. Let's rock it. All right. It has been 43 and a half minutes. We're still on quarterback. So I'm going to move us. I mean, whatever. We can go on our own time. We're moving along to running backs though. I think it is time. I think we have talked enough about the quarterbacks. So let's talk about the running backs, and the top projected of the slate by a country mile is Derrick Henry. And they still have Chase Brown in their projections.
Yeah.
I think we're probably assuming that Chase Brown is going to be up, but we'll get there. Let's start with Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry projected for 20 fantasy points and 64% ownership against Cleveland. How are we feeling about Derrick Henry on this slate?
Love him. I mean, I feel like when I'm opening up DraftKings and I'm building, the first 2 names I'm clicking are Chase and Henry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be over that 60% for sure.
Yep. Like it. So I'm a single entry and 3 max player. 3 max, I'm probably playing all 2 of 3 or all 3 of 3 with Henry and Chase. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
What you see on the screen, does this give you any kind of pause? Third worst in terms of schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed to running backs over the past 5 weeks, the matchup?
Not at this point in the season.
Yeah.
No, because if you look at other metrics, they suck. Like, so I like weighing schedule adjusted fantasy points per game, but it also doesn't like, now I'm not going to say it doesn't capture everything, but as far as like, you can have outcomes where that's also, especially looking at small samples of 5 games, where touchdowns and not scoring touchdowns against the defense can kind of push that in one direction or the other. Because if you look at the Cleveland Browns run defense since week 12, they have allowed the 8th highest explosive run rate. They've also allowed the 9th highest missed tackle rate. And hold on, I'm pulling it up here. They've allowed and the 5th highest success rate to zone runs. So like they haven't had a lot of touchdowns scored against them, partially because their pass defense has been terrible too over the last few weeks. But I'm not worried about Derrick Henry. Like, this is quietly a shit-tastic run defense for Cleveland.
Okay, good. And Drew, you're on the same page. You're going to be over the 64% he's projected for.
Yeah, I'll be over it. And I just saw some updated projections too, at least on one of the ones that I was using. And Keaton Mitchell is seeing a lot of ownership too. I don't mind seeing, I don't mind playing both of them in the same lineup. I prefer one or the other, but I think both of them set up really well.
Yeah, that's a good note because
I'm surprised it's Keaton Mitchell and not Rasheen Ali.
We could see a little of both. But I have Keaton Mitchell projected for 10 points. Seems a little aggressive. I'd probably drop him down to
that seems very aggressive.
7 to 8 points.
So I pulled up the fantasy points projections because they have Chase Brown out, which I think Drew, are you on the same page that you think it's more likely than not that Chase Brown is going to sit and it's going to be the
Chase Brown's not playing. I'm going to straight up say it. He is not playing.
He hasn't practiced at all. Yeah.
He's not playing. There's no way in hell. And I watched multiple segments earlier today where it was Rappaport and a few other people were alluding to that. Rappaport literally said about Chase Brown, he's extremely sore, and they didn't put it like as a quote or like in the main tweet or anything like that. But if you watch the segment, he says he's extremely sore and he's very unlikely unless things change to play tomorrow.
Okay.
So they're just doing injury report bullshit. Like he should have been listed as doubtful.
Yep. So Fantasy Points has made that assumption already, and they have Khalil Herbert actually not that far behind Derrick Henry with 17.3 fantasy points
and 75% ownership. See, this is why I'm saying you need that salary savings. And I hate to say it, but I would rather get my salary savings from Russell Wilson than Khalil Herbert.
Interesting. I mean, I'm going to have a ton of Khalil Herbert, but 75%, like I agree with you. Like you're either playing 75% Khalil Herbert or 17% Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
But like, there's also like at running back, everybody is salary savings outside of Derrick Henry. Like it's 5,800 is the next most expensive running back, assuming Chase Brown is out. So
I'll say this: I trust Weck's projections. He's really damn good at this, and I'm not blowing smoke. Like he's fucking awesome with projections.
He's led me to some good victories this year. I hear you.
Yeah. So with that said, like Khalil Herbert projects extremely well.
I've built most of my early line, like at least when I'm toyed around with builds, like I'm gonna have a shit ton of Herbert. Where's he projecting at? Like how well? Again, he's not. Was fantasy points have him at 20?
So fantasy points has him at 17.3 fantasy points. So it's Derrick Henry at 21.8, then a little gap down to Khalil Herbert 17.
Is that roster percentage 75%? Am I seeing that right?
That is 75% ownership is the projection here.
I mean, I get it. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll wager any of you guys for a friendly drink whenever we hang out in person. Give me the under 17. I'll take under 16 points even if you guys want to take the upper on that. That feels a little aggressive.
It's a little aggressive, but I think what just looking at the projection though, Drew, is that all that's saying to me is that they're expecting him to play the Chase Brown role, that Travion is not going to be a factor. And honestly, I'm with that because Travion hasn't been a factor any freaking week. Like Herbert's been the clear backup. Cincinnati wants to roll with one guy. I think they've shown enough trust in Herbert. Like, if I could see Travion eating into it, like, if anything, like, kind of looking at the projections, like, I think Keaton Mitchell is way too damn high because Rasheen Ali needs to go up. Like, I think both of those guys could share that garbage time work, but I'm more inclined to believe the Khalil Herbert projection. I don't want to bet you to take the over, but I think it's a good line. I think, like, projecting him for like 16 points and above is kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm more probably like around the 16.5 mark. Yeah, but I think it's close.
You know what? Because I've had Khalil Herbert was my most drafted player in best ball, and now all my best ball's over. So I need to have some stake in Khalil Herbert. So I'll take that bet, Drew. We're gonna make a beer bet. We're gonna make a beer bet when we see each other in July. By the way, is when we're gonna see each other. We're gonna make that happen.
Make a beer bet. You're both toasting with bourbon, and you're making a beer bet.
We're making a beer bet.
Is there a problem here?
Well, at the game, you can pretty much only get beer, and that's expensive beer.
Yeah, it's expensive beer. So we'll make a beer bet. I'll take the over on 16. Do you say 16 is your number?
He heard that we were talking about visiting him for July. So look at
he had to hop in.
Yeah. Love to see it. All right. So bet is on the books. I'm taking the over on 16 fantasy points for Khalil Herbert. 75% ownership. That is a hefty number. Like I'm super into Khalil Herbert, but it is like if you think that he's as good as Chase Brown, which probably not many people do.
But if Chase Brown was at 5,100, how much Chase Brown would you have on this?
98%. 98%.
Yeah. So I mean, like I mean,
yeah. I think I'm not as sold that he's going to get the workload. I think we could see Burrow throw it 40 times tomorrow, and Khalil Herbert the ball 10 times, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's definitely a case to be made for Cincinnati throwing the ball more. Definitely. And the one, if you want to talk about, like, for everything that Khalil Herbert is good at, pass pro, not. Receiver, not. So, like,
that's a
I think Travion's probably not, like, gonna factor in much, but I could be wrong.
Interesting. Yeah. That's a good scouting report on Khalil Herbert. I remember him from his Bears days of being good.
They never trusted him in pass pro. That was the problem.
They never did. Yeah.
Never did. And it's not like he's had stellar yards per route run or any other kind of metric you could point to and be like, no, he's really actually good. Like, no, he's kind of bad at it.
Yeah. Just want to say Arkathels is back, says this game doesn't matter for Bengals. No, it matters. This is like the most important game.
Bengals
they need to win to have a shot at the playoffs. So yeah, they're going all out. All right. So Khalil Herbert, I'm probably going to be under 75% ownership just because that is such a high number, and I wouldn't be that shocked. Like I think what Drew is saying, like, it's not that I think another running back is going to take the workload, but like they've already been top of the league in terms of neutral situation pass rate. I think they could just lean into that even more with Chase Brown out potentially. So there are paths to failure there for sure, and maybe Travion Williams, somebody does play a little bit more of a role, but he's like an objectively fantastic play at 5,100. I'll have him in more than 60% of my lineups. I would say, like, I'm not going to be like fading him. Just like at 75%, I'll probably be a little bit light there. Would be my guess.
The only other thing I'll say about him too is that looking at Khalil Herbert in as far as building, looking at other players in that price range, like even if he scores 14 points, he still might be the best runaway play at that price range when you're fitting into lineups. Like there's so many other paths to failure for those 4K wide receivers. I think there's a very interesting conversation, and especially considering the massive divide on rostership to playing a shit ton of Jaylen Warren, because I see like multiple paths for him to outscore Herbert, and he's around the same price point.
Yeah, I think that's I just said I'm probably going to be under 75%. I'm like, probably not by that much. Like I do think he's like just an
like 60, like 60 or 60. Like, I mean, a little bit under.
Yeah, like he's just and that's only for a 150 set. Like if I were playing high stakes, he'd be in my lineup. Like you would just like go right
in a 3 max. I'll probably play him in 2 out of the 3.
That's pretty small. Yeah. Okay. Jaylen Warren, we just brought him up. 5,800. So Warren is more expensive than Najee Harris. Maybe we should talk about these two together. How do we feel about Jaylen Warren, 5,800, 28% ownership versus Najee Harris now is 5,300, 16% ownership. So there's been a little bit of flipping here where Jaylen Warren is now the guy who is getting more of the ownership.
I've got a definite lean. Drew, I'm curious where you're at on it because I've got a very definite lean on that backfield.
I mean, I don't know if this is bold to say or not, but I think Najee's best days are behind him.
Yep.
I don't know that we will see him carry the ball, touch the ball 20 times in a game. I mean, I hate to say it because he's, 7 years younger than Zeke, but I see him being a goal line running back the rest of his career and in the Zeke role that we've seen the last couple of years.
What if I were to tell you, because these are facts, that Jaylen Warren over the last 2 weeks has played 59% of the snaps and he's played 69% of the snaps in the red zone? He has been the Steelers' workhorse back. Like he has been. I think there is an easy case to be made, and this is part of like tying this into Khalil Herbert. Jaylen Warren could be the play of this slate that everybody wants Khalil Herbert to be.
Oh,
in the sense that he has been over the last 2 weeks. He has been the workhorse. We're hoping and we're projecting that Herbert is the workhorse. But Warren actually has done it, and he is also actually really damn good at catching the ball. So he's script-proof. So the fact that Cincinnati is just absolutely beating that ever-living crap out of the Steelers isn't going to matter.
Yeah.
Look at this, too. In terms of schedule-adjusted fantasy points allowed over the past 5 weeks, the best possible matchup for running backs against Cincinnati, and particularly great against receiving running backs, which would be the Warren role. So everything just like lines up for Jaylen Warren to be fantastic here. The one reason that I'm like, but you can still play a lot of Khalil Herbert. You can play both of them. Like you can play 3 running backs. You can play Jaylen Warren, Khalil Herbert.
You just stole the words out of my mouth. I think there's a case to be made if you're going to and getting different with builds to play Khalil Herbert and to play Jaylen Warren and play Derrick Henry. Now, in that case, I probably want 1, maybe 2 pass catchers from Baltimore. Because if they're beating the shit out of the Browns, then all I'm just making the bet over is that like, okay, they're fine. They score 4 touchdowns, maybe 1's defensive and 3 go to the air.
Yep. I like it.
For sure.
Steals on the build that sticks out to me the most as well with Russell and then a bring back with Higgins and Chase. I know we'll get right back to receiver in a little bit. But with that, you can play Russ, you can play Warren, and then you can pretty much do whatever you want at receiver and grab Derrick Henry, and you're in a good spot.
Yeah. Save some salary with those cheap players. Yep. Makes a lot of sense.
MD just asked us a question, and as you guys were going back and forth, I was looking through the play-by-play of the last game. Derek, sell me on Ali over Keaton Mitchell. The back half of last game, even with the starters, it was all Keaton Mitchell. I think Ali might be getting phased out, that Keaton Mitchell is now healthy, running with the offense again. He got the blowout run as well, but he also got the Lamar run.
He did. The only way I'll say this is, okay, is this a good spot to give Keaton Mitchell some run? And did he get the most run, in the last game? He did. But outside of that, Rasheen Ali has been the guy getting, he got 8 carries in week 15 against the Giants when they were beating the ever-living shit out of the Giants.
Yep.
He also played 15% of the snaps in week 16. So I think it's possible that Mitchell gets the run. I just want to also kind of bet against, okay, well, Mitchell's kind of getting some love, and I want to kind of fade that and say, well, okay, that's the most, it feels like it's a 1 game most recent, like it's recency bias to me. When we have a larger sample of Rasheen Ali being the guy that, like, if you're Baltimore and you wanted to use Keaton Mitchell in the playoffs, do you really want to run him a lot when he's still not probably 100%? Do you still want to run him in a game when it doesn't mean anything? Or are you just going to give Ali like 10 to 12 carries and say, yeah, whatever, we don't fucking care?
If it really is blowout run, then it's Ali. If it's, a 17-point game in the fourth quarter, then it's probably Keaton Mitchell. Something like that.
Like the way that I look at it is like Baltimore's up by 24 points. They covered the spread. Ali's getting, a shit ton of carries in the last 2 drives just to kill the clock. And hopefully he scores.
Yeah.
Mateo says Keaton Mitchell needs reps. I mean, that's also true. Like, just looking at this, he played his first game since week 11 last week. He's only played 3 games this year, so it kind of makes sense to give him some reps. So yeah, I think you can make a case for either of them like pretty easily. Because I agree with that assessment of like probably Keaton Mitchell if the game stays at all competitive. Keaton Mitchell seems to be the back that they trust more, but then Rasheen Ali, like Drew said, like probably in a blowout run would be the guy.
Like, put it this way: if Mitchell didn't get the carries last week versus the Texans, will we even be talking about him?
Only because I had a lot of him in best ball.
That's fair.
Yeah. Look at the ownership though. I guess the ownership is not going to Rasheen Ali at all. Obviously, it's not going to be actually 0%, but like projecting for
that's the other part about it. Like Mitchell's getting 16 freaking percent. I feel like that should be split. It should be between the two, and it's just recency. Like, if anything, both those guys should be hovering in the 8 to 10% range.
Well, and look, here's the thing. If you can get any player tomorrow who has a real possibility of getting 10 touches, let's say, and a high likelihood of a touchdown out of those 10 touches at 1% ownership or less, it's within play, right? I'm not going to have more than 5-10%, but I would sprinkle in some Ali.
I mean, the only thing you're saying too is by playing one of them is that the 4K wide receivers fail. Which is, I mean, and the tight ends. Like, if people don't win by double tight end, you're just saying that the running back in that price point was the play over the 4K wide receivers and the tight end, probably, or at least 2 of them or 1 of them. Like, one of them probably still makes the optimal.
Yeah, I know you said you haven't built yet. As I was messing around listening to you guys earlier, you need probably 2 to 3 of those 4K plays in your lineup, in every lineup, because you have Derrick Henry and Jamar Chase at 8K. It's crazy.
The other part of this is we haven't even talked about a 4K back that's probably going to get 15 to 17 touches in Deontay Foreman.
Yeah, good point.
Like, he's probably getting all the damn work.
Yep.
And so why the hell are we playing Keaton Mitchell and Rasheen Ali, hoping that one of them gets 12 touches when we could just play? We could play Foreman, knowing he's going to get a shit ton of work, and he might score a garbage time touchdown as well.
I mean, didn't we see it last year in week 17, week 18 of Foreman getting 20 touches and being a must-have on that slate?
Yeah. I mean, that's my biggest problem with playing any of the Baltimore running backs is that Deontay Foreman, and you can even play the same kind of case with John Kelly and saying, well, if they split it, then it's those 2 running backs getting all the opportunities. So the ceiling for touches for one of those Baltimore guys might be the floor for either one of the Cleveland backs.
Yep. Do we know anything about John Kelly?
I don't. DBro, do
preseason DFS hero, baby. Yeah, you sure as hell bet I do. Played a shit ton of John Kelly.
There you go. No,
he was really like highly touted. Well, not highly touted, but like he had a good collegiate career, good tackle breaking metrics, not a great pass catcher, good early down guy. He's been on Cleveland's roster, I think it's like the last 3 or 4 years, but he produces, man. Like, he didn't test well, but in the preseason, I've seen him rip off, like, break enough damn tackles and make enough damn optimals, and me playing preseason DFS that, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if John Kelly got, 12 to 14 opportunities, and maybe it's not even Deontay Foreman. Because I know Stefanski, that coaching staff likes John Kelly.
Well, and here's the most important thing. It's a revenge game. He had a brief stint with the Ravens. So
as we all know and remember.
Yes, of course.
John Kelly for the Ravens.
I got my John Kelly shirt under this hoodie. So
yeah. All right. Good note on John Kelly. So DBro, sounds like are you into Deontay Foreman at 30% ownership?
I mean, 30% for that workload doesn't even feel like that much, man. Yeah, honestly, like he should be in the 40s. Like, I think that he honestly should be like 40 to 45%.
Who do you prefer between Deontay Foreman and Najee Harris? Because they're getting about like within 1% ownership of each other. Najee 5,300, Deontay Foreman 4,900.
Deontay, only from just like a raw like touch projection. Like Najee, because here's the thing with Najee, his price point is not looking at what his workload has been over the last few weeks. He's really, I'm not going to say he's been fully phased out, but I'm pulling it up right now. Like, we're talking about a running back that I think, like, if you want to talk about the puff and praise of like, okay, who's been getting work and like price points and stuff, Najee over the last 3 weeks, 45% of the snaps, 28, 33 in 2 of those 3 games, he didn't even get 10 carries. In the last game, he got 13 carries. Like, I honestly think that Najee's price should be a little bit lower, considering what his workload has been. And I mean, he hasn't even scored a damn touchdown in the last 3 games. So no, I would play. I think Foreman is just straight up a better play than Najee.
I agree.
Okay. And I'm just checking.
Yeah, and I'm gonna back you up on the Connor comments in the chat as well. If Chase Brown does not play 1 snap, then all those bets get voided. If he plays 1 snap, then they're in play.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and there's a ton of books with his line still up, and I mean, if you want to play the unders, then I get it, but I just think he's going to get ruled out.
I think if you're going to play anything, I think it's an under, and then you hope that he plays limited snaps in like a crucial situation. Which again, I don't think that's going to happen. But I think
the other thing that the books are telling us too, if the last time I looked at it, and maybe it's changed, boys, if y'all have access to it, but like. The last time I looked at Khalil Herbert's anytime touchdown was only at plus 125. So they're also telling us that Herbert's going to play a lot.
Yes, I agree.
Love that. So wait,
if not, that should be like plus 650 or some shit, like maybe 750 if we thought Chase Brown was actually playing his real role.
So Drew, I think you're confirming what I thought, which is if he plays at all, then it won't get voided. But if he does not play at all, then it is going to get voided.
Yeah, so, I confirm with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, so we've talked about Derrick Henry, Khalil Herbert, Jaylen Warren, Najee Harris, Deontay Foreman, Keaton Mitchell, John Kelly. Are we playing any Travion at 4,600, 1% owned?
Nope.
Cordarrelle Patterson?
No, I don't hate myself. I don't hate myself enough to play Cordarrelle Patterson.
It's one of those, like, if he catches a touchdown on a 2-game slate, like, might be enough, but yeah, I don't think I hate myself enough either.
I'm not burning good American currency on Cordarrelle Patterson.
I mean, so I'm working through my player pool as we speak right now. I think I'm avoiding Najee completely.
Yeah, I'm full fading him.
Even if he gets the touchdown, I don't see him getting over 50 yards and being a must-have. I mean, even at that point, it's 12. I don't know, or 11. I just don't know that it's actually worthwhile.
No, I fully agree. Like. The other part about this is you're telling yourself a story about the game and you're saying, how does this game go?
Yeah, right.
Okay, Najee makes an optimal if Pittsburgh gets a lead and they can lean on him, or if it's a competitive game. Do we really think that's how this game goes?
Yeah.
I think the Bengals beat the ever-loving shit out of them.
Right,
so if that's the case, then Najee's probably marginalized.
This is my counterpoint for a 150 set is just look at this matchup. Like this matchup is so good. And I know that's mostly through receiving, but like Najee's not a 0 in receiving. He's four targets in the most recent game. What was kind of a string of 1-1-0 in the 3 games prior to that, but like remember him with Ben Roethlisberger. Like, he's capable of catching the ball.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like I'll play some Najee. I guess is my point. Is not that that's wrong, but just like
2 seasons ago, correct me if I'm wrong, not this season, but last season, Najee led the league in explosive runs being over 20 yards through like 10 games through the season.
His tackle breaking metrics were freaking awesome last year. Like I was high on him coming into the year, but yeah, I think any Najee love that we have should just automatically just go to Jaylen Warren. Like
A-Rod's in the chat talking about tight ends. We'll get there in 2 hours. Just hang tight.
Yeah, just
Sometimes we might be able to make it a sun up, boys. We'll see.
That's a fair point. Yeah, I just want to say like I'm so my stance is 16% ownership for Najee actually feels kind of light to me. Like I think I'm taking a different approach than you guys are on Najee. I think I'll be above that number just because he's 5,300. He's a capable pass catcher, even if he hasn't been amazing recently. Yeah. He's still involved, and the field is moving more towards Warren, obviously. And I've been like Warren over Najee like all year, but now that it's flipped enough, and like the price is flipped and the ownership is flipped, I think the
more and more I think through it, I think we were out over our skis with Herbert just a tad bit. Like I think it's kind of blasphemous that Warren is as low as he is. I'm going to say that, but go ahead, Drew.
No, I'm just reiterating, this is how you win short slates, small slates is by taking, those candidates that are getting low ownership who still have a role like a Najee Harris. I get it.
Yeah.
If he pops and becomes a must-have, it's nice if you're at 40%. It's great.
Yeah, but we all have to find our stands to take, and that's just one that I think I'm actually taking it's sort of like the opposite stand where I'm I think I'm actually gonna be overweight on Najee if he does come in at 16%. But I understand what you're saying, you understand what I'm saying. It's just it's one of those. It's I don't know. There's ways
I
to play
kind of
it.
feel like the best point per dollar, or the best point per touch kind of volume play, it is Deontay Foreman between those two different guys.
Fair. But it's also Deontay Foreman is getting 43% ownership to Najee's 16.
That's fair.
According to fantasy points.
I was going to say it, but I almost kind of feel like the 16 is a little bit too low.
Yeah, and RotoGrinders.
I don't think he's going to come in that low.
Yeah, so I guess I'm saying this looking at fantasy points data and be holy shit, 16% ownership, that seems low. And then I look at RotoGrinders and I see 30%, and I'm I want to fade
that feels a little bit more right. I think he probably is somewhere between in the high 20s. Honestly.
Yeah, it's probably somewhere in between.
On SaberSim for what it's worth.
Okay, that's good. That's a good note.
He's what?
32 on SaberSim.
What's Jaylen Warren?
35.
Okay.
Cobalt asks, why is audio cutting in and out? Anybody else having this issue? Let me know if
I hear you guys just fine.
I'm not a producer, so there's nothing I can do about it anyway. If you do tell me about it,
it could be somebody else's internet connection too that's tuning in. But
yeah,
I don't hear it. But I mean, Jack can let us know, I guess.
Maybe producer Steele could work on the audio.
Justin, come on, we need an assist here, buddy.
Yeah. Any other running backs we need to talk about? We talked about Rasheen Ali as being playable. I think we talked about all of them. All right,
I think we're good.
Let's move on. Let's move on to wide receivers, and I will flip the page over here. Jamar Chase. So that's I think. Let's talk Chase. Let's talk Chase and Higgins. I think that's where who knows who Jamar Chase is. He's no Justin Jefferson. I'll tell you that with all due respect. Let's start with Chase.
I'm going to kick you out of your own stream. Dear God.
No, fuck that. No, Jamar Chase is not. He is not. Justin Jefferson is leads better than Jamar Chase. Let's be.
Oh my gosh, Neil.
I'm not. How could you call me biased?
Your homerism is showing, sir. Pull your shirt down.
Yeah, I was actually Jamar Chase over Justin Jefferson in best ball this year. I thought he was a better pick because he had the better.
Chase is my wide receiver one this year.
Yeah.
He was my wide receiver one, and it wasn't CeeDee Lamb.
Let's get into it. So Jamar Chase projected for 63.5% ownership. I think we just start with those two. Jamar Chase, 63.5% ownership. T. Higgins, 48.5% ownership. Chase is 8,600. T. Higgins, 7,100. What are we doing with the Bengals receivers? What do we make of the Triple Crown Chase? How do you feel about it?
I'm just playing even more Chase. I feel like that number is low. That number is low. It needs to be higher. Those are rookie numbers. Chase is going to get a shit ton of volume. This all comes down to when not only have we seen a large enough sample size, and I'm not saying that T isn't correlated to Burrow smash games, but Chase is ultimately the games where Burrow goes the hell off. Chase is coming along for the ride, man. He's never not part of that. But also going back to just this matchup specifically, they move Chase around. He goes into the slot. Joey Porter Jr. is not going to go into the slot. You also look at the coverage matchup for fantasy points data. And this is something I talk about freaking weekly. The Steelers have been and continue to be one of the highest single high rate teams in the entire damn NFL. The disparity between those two wide receivers versus single high, Chase freaking eats, dude. Versus single high, Chase has a 31% target share, a 43% air yard share. T, 23%. Their yards per route run differences are a Grand Canyon. Versus single high, Chase is at 3.3. T. Higgins is at 1.9. First read share, even Chase dwarfs him 37% to 30%. Chase is, I know if we don't want to talk about lock, but he's as close to a damn lock button as there is, man. I don't know if I'm going to make any lineups without Jamar Chase. Straight up.
I think that's totally fine. Drew, do you agree with that?
Yeah, and I'm telling you, the only reason why his ownership projection is as low as it is because of the salary savings that you need. And that's, again, I hate to go back to it, but that's why I like Russ so much. It is very hard to build a lot of lineups with Jamar Chase and have any Derrick Henry or any of the Lamar Jackson or Joe or Burrow. So it's really interesting. Tomorrow's a really good dynamic, but I completely agree with you. I think Jamar should probably be prioritized as your top own tomorrow.
Yeah. Like when I'm opening up whatever app, he's the first name I'm clicking over Derrick Henry. Like there are paths to Derrick Henry failing. Like if the touchdowns all go through the defense, and then the touchdowns go through the air, there are paths to Derrick Henry failing. Jamar Chase is going to fucking eat tomorrow.
Just showing the wide receiver cornerback matchup. I mean, there is no shadow situation being projected by fantasy points, but they have Joey Porter primarily on T. Higgins and DBro. I think you said the same earlier.
Yep.
You think it's going to be more?
I thought, and shout out to Brett Whitefield. I talked to him. I think the last time these two teams played, and he was very much in the mindset. Brett's one of the sharpest people. People need to be following that dude. Mm-hmm. He was talking about that Jamar. I'm actually going into the data right now to see what did they do versus the Bengals right now. Last time with Joey Porter, I'm looking at it. At least I'm trying to find it.
While you do that, I'll just comment really quick on these 4K receivers. It is slim pickings out here. This is really going to be interesting because you want as many of the top tier as you can. You will hurt so badly if you don't have Jamar Chase in your lineup because the rest of the receivers are going to underscore him by 5+ points.
Yep. Heath Davis says, so what happens when the game finishes 2017 AFC North January football? I mean, that is a fair concern, but it's also a 2-game slate. So like
it's possible, but I mean,
I kind of think Jamar Chase. So they want the triple crown, which is receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. Touchdowns is almost a foregone conclusion at this point. I think receptions is like Amon-Ra St. Brown is like, I think I want to say 8 receptions back. So like they want to get him I'll pull it up. 10. They want to get him like 10 receptions to make that like insurmountable. Like like Amon-Ra could have 15 receptions in a game. 18 is probably insurmountable. So like I feel like they're going to do a bunch of like, I mean, they need to win the game too. So it's not like they're just going to force it to Jamar Chase, but I kind of do think Burrow is going to be forcing the ball to Chase to some extent. So even in like a low scoring game, I think it's just going to rack up PPR points.
Amon-Ra is 8 receptions behind him. Brock Bowers is 9 receptions behind him. Wow. So like there are people that could catch him. I don't think Burrow is going to let that happen.
Can you imagine a rookie tight end leading the league in receptions?
That'd be so insane.
Amazing. I mean, it's already.
I mean, he is their entire passing offense. So.
For sure.
I mean, Jacoby Myers is not bad.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, boys, T. Higgins, Joey Porter followed him on 74% of his routes in week 13. So,
do you think there's any like threat of Pittsburgh being like, nah, fuck that? Like we don't want Jamar. Like we know that they want to get the ball to Jamar Chase. They've been open about it. They've been saying like we want him to get the triple crown. Is there any threat that they're like, no, we're just going to stick Joey Porter on him. We're going to double team him. We're not going to allow.
He's not going to fall into the slot though, and that's the part where he will not. He doesn't follow people to the slot. That's the where I think it's more noise than reality. We'll put it that way.
Fair. Okay.
How did T do in that week 13 game? I'm looking. 5 for 69 and 1, 10 targets.
Yeah, like probably decent enough to make an optimal, but not like he smashed.
Yeah. Let's see. I got it open here.
Yeah, 10 for 5, 69 and 1. That's enough to make an optimal, but I mean, again, at his price point, like he's also going to have to outscore like Zay Flowers and George Pickens.
Mm-hmm.
So he probably he's going to need a really strong game or both of those guys to fail. Or at least, I mean, it's like he's going to have to keep pace with them at the very least.
Yeah. So we prefer Chase over Higgins. I think it sounds like we're all kind of on the same page there. And I kind of think that's kind of the meta. Also.
Oh yeah, it's easy. All the numbers point to Chase. It's Chase for me. Schematic, coverage, everything.
For me, also, I just I don't want to chase Higgins on a short slate like this right after his huge game when Mar's the clear alpha there.
Yep. And there's also motivation to get Jamar the ball, and the schematic matchup lines up, and he's not gonna it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like how many of these different factors? It's like not just one or two things. It's the totality of like 3 or 4 different factors all pointing back to Chase.
Yeah, I agree.
Like fading Chase is getting too cute on this slate.
Yeah. And look at the fantasy point projections on this slate. It's like Chase 22, Higgins 17, Flowers 15, Jeudy 13, Pickens 11.5, Elijah Moore 8. It's like it drops significantly after. Yeah,
it is like rough out there.
So we haven't even talked about him yet. One of the stands I'm also making to this, I told Neil before you got on here, Drew, is I'm hard fading George Pickens. Like I do not.
Yeah, I heard that.
I'm so considering I'm playing single entry and 3 max, I'm full fading George Pickens. I'm not telling people to do that in 150s, but what's he projecting at right now, Neil? What are you seeing on
24% ownership? 11.5 fantasy points, 24% ownership.
So this all comes down to I'm fading him because the reason, a lot of these defenses over the last 5 to 6 weeks of the season, like the ones that we've seen improve some, and Cincinnati's pass defense, while it's not great, it has gotten better. And a lot of these coverage units, what they've done is they've gone to more 2 high structures because they don't have the guys to sit here and run with guys, and so they're playing 2 safeties over the top. Cincy is one of those teams. So since week 14, they had the 5th highest 2 high rate in the NFL. This really freaking matters because if you look at George Pickens, his splits between single high and 2 high are just freaking massive, dude. Like single high teams of the last 2 years, he absolutely owns. He crushes, and it makes a lot of sense because those are the coverage structures where you get those deep chunk plays and the bucket shots down the sideline against one safety for George Pickens, and that's the way Russ likes to play. But we have problems. I mean, just go back to last week. Kansas City is a massive 2 high team. George Pickens did nothing. Kansas City, since week 14, has the highest 2 high rate in the NFL. George Pickens this season versus 2 high only has a 16% target share and 1.2 yards per route run. He has been fucking horrible versus 2 high.
Wow.
That's good note.
I'm full fading him.
Who would you project for your 3rd highest scoring receiver then tomorrow?
Okay, so assuming Chase is 1,
T2,
and T is 2, or are we saying T or Flowers is 2?
T2, so then Flowers 3 or tied 2.
Flowers is 3 for me. I think the number 4 spot is where it gets interesting.
Pickens
I think if the Steelers do what they should do, it could be Calvin Austin.
Ooh, that's a hot take.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm saying this is if you look at Calvin Austin versus 2 high coverage and just looking at so he only has a 12% target share, but he has 1.9 yards per route run against 2 high. And since week 12 has given up the 5th most receiving yards per game and the 2nd highest PPR points per target to slot wide receivers.
And just looking at the coverage matchup show, which kind of gives you the totality of like the different types of coverage they play, and you add them all together. Calvin Austin does stand out here in terms of the coverage grade.
I really like him.
Calvin Austin.
Really like Calvin Austin.
What is actually his role did not really go down since Pickens came back. I mean, I know last week was interesting, but Austin is certainly still involved a lot.
Yeah, 79.2% route participation.
He caught a touchdown. If y'all remember, I was on him that week, Neil. I was touting Calvin Austin versus Cincinnati.
That, yeah.
This was the game where he got concussed. He got 2 catches and 29 yards in the score, and he didn't finish the game. He only played 23% of the snaps. So, that was all the production he had at the very beginning of the game. We also could have seen, this could have been a big Calvin Austin game, and we didn't see that because he left the game early.
Yeah, no, that's a good note. Yeah, that's Calvin Austin. What's the ownership here? So we have
it's not going to be high enough.
17% at Roto Grinders,
doubling that.
9% at Fantasy Points.
I'm doubling that. I love Austin.
Yeah.
A little bit higher on Saber Sim at 24.
Okay.
That's about right. Like I think he should be around 20, 25, like high 20s.
Interesting. Yep.
They also have Pickens at 55%. That seems too high.
It's too high.
Percent go there.
38% at fantasy points, which is higher than Rotogrinders, which has Pickens at 24%. I saw 24%, and I was like, damn, I want that. I'll sign up for 24% Pickens, but 38%.
So unique from an ownership perspective. We're going to go on tomorrow. We're going to be surprised. I don't know if we're going to be surprised to the good or the bad on any of these guys, but we will have surprises once lineups lock.
Yeah,
that's been one of my biggest shocks since I left Stochastic, was like, because I just use their ownership projections all the time for everything, and it was like, oh man, sometimes I'd be shocked by ownership, like, oh my god, that's not anywhere close. But now it's like ownership projections themselves. You look around the industry, it's like, oh my god, these are so different, and it's just like that changes everything about how I want to play the slate. It's kind of fascinating. Right. Okay, Jerry Jeudy. 37.5% at Roto-Grinders. Fantasy points has Jerry Jeudy getting 44%. Can we play Jerry Jeudy with some mix of Bailey Zappi and Dorian Thompson-Robinson?
It's his price point, dude. Like, that's the problem. Like, it's his price point for me. Like, if I'm paying that, I'm playing Zay Flowers. Like, that's what it comes down to me. Like, I just have a hard, like, could he get there? Sure, maybe, possible. I mean, we saw him get peppered with targets. Baltimore's secondary has been playing much better too. Mm-hmm. Like, if this was the same pushover secondary from the beginning of the season,
they are.
I would tell you DTR and Bailey Zappi, that combo could get Jerry Jeudy there. I don't think it happens, man.
This is like, if he was getting 12% ownership, I'd be like, all right, that's kind of interesting. Like, I need to think about this. Like, maybe I want to play him at 12%, but this is insane, the amount of ownership he's getting.
What's he getting?
Are people actually going to click on him tomorrow? This is another one where I think we could be surprised.
What is it? What is it at? Is that
37.5% at Roto-Grinders?
He's gonna
44%.
I will put good American cash behind the fact that he's not going to be that popular.
I agree. I think
he's not.
I'd put the over under at like 22.5%. I think I'd probably take the under. Like, I think
has him at 55.
Nah, I don't see it.
Do they really? I
don't see it.
It's weird.
Connor asks, are you and Lofty cool, Neil? I need to be you're cool. Yeah, we're cool. I got Lofty's.
Yeah, unless the Vikings are playing the Eagles, they're probably fine.
Yeah, fuck the Eagles. Fuck Lofty if they're playing the Eagles. But otherwise, yeah, no worry. I got no issue with Lofty.
Save your drama for the playoffs, Neil.
Yeah, that's right.
You can still lament your best ball teams.
Could happen. Yeah, I would guess he comes in significantly lower than where he's being projected everywhere. But where he's being projected, sounds like we're all on the same page. Like, we're not playing Jerry Jeudy. If he's anywhere near,
I'm not
40, 50%.
He's too damn popular. He's too pricey. Like, pick your flavor. I'm not playing Jerry Jeudy. Like, whatever.
Kelvin Austin. I mean, you've sold me on Kelvin Austin, DBro. I like him quite a bit.
Bet is overs, people.
Did we talk about Zay Flowers? You said he'd be your third, like,
I like Zay. We haven't talked about him, but I really freaking like Zay. And this all comes down to, again, going back to the coverage matchups. So Cleveland is a massive single high team. Zay is their single high beater. Like, Zay is who they go to versus single high. I'm pulling it up right now, but his numbers versus single high are just nasty, man. Like, he's got, unless it's changed, he's usually somewhere around 3 yards per route run, 30% target share. Okay. So yeah, versus single high, Zay Flowers, 27% target share, 3.06 yards per route run, and a 32.7% first read share. If you want to fade Derrick Henry, then you need to be playing a shit ton of Zay Flowers tomorrow.
Yeah, and the tight ends.
Yep.
I'm laughing at Mateo saying, yeah, Jeudy is playable for sure. It's like, it's pretty far from what we're saying. I mean, he is playable. I agree with you that he's playable, but like,
I mean, it's a two-gamer. We can make a case for everybody being playable. Does that mean I want to play him?
Maybe he was responding to Andrew saying Jeudy catches 10 balls, no T and optimal. I mean, yeah.
Let me read off the receiving lines for you guys tomorrow. We got Jamar Chase at 92.5, T at 77.5. Okay. Third is Pickens at 66.5. DBro, to your point, that seems too high.
I'm taking the under on that.
Flowers is at 59.5, which feels right, and you're just betting that he's going to catch the long ball, right?
Yep.
And if he does, then he hits that over.
Yep.
Jeudy at 55.5.
That's too
then
high.
Then it dropped down to mid 30s and low 30s, and Calvin Austin's at 30.5. And everyone else, to my point earlier, is kind of like a quick no for me. And so after the first 6 from a price perspective, I think you're removing the entire, to answer A-Rod's question on Mike Williams or Van Jefferson. I don't think I play it.
No. Yeah, there's no reason to get that together.
On this list right here, after Yoshi, I don't touch any one of them, and Elijah Moore I don't touch. Yoshi, nope. Considering in Burrow stacks or in game stacks, sure. Bateman, I'll play in the hopes that he catches a long ball. I still think he looks awesome every time he touches the field. He just
dude, it's crazy how, like, if you put Rashad Bateman on a high pass rate team and a team that would actually feature him, Rashad Bateman. I know I'm going to sound like a freaking psycho by saying this. Rashad Bateman would catch 100 balls. He would.
He could in the right situation. I'm picturing him. You said a high pass team, and I don't think the Chargers are this, but put him in the Quentin Johnston role this year for the Chargers, dude. That would have looked so much better.
Yeah. So okay, Bateman is one of the biggest stands on the slate. I love Bateman.
I like him.
He's getting higher ownership than I was anticipating. Than he was getting earlier, but still 20%. Bateman, just like if you look at let's see, where wide receiver
pass defense has been cheeks over the last few weeks,
and they've been so Bateman. And according to the fantasy points wide receiver cornerback matchup, they have him as the left wide receiver primarily. If you look at schedule adjusted,
they need to update that too. Denzel Ward hasn't. He's been ruled out. So yeah,
okay.
But
that just makes it better, right? The defensive.
No, yeah. They're gonna have a backup. Martin Emerson has been terrible this year. Like, he fell off a cliff this year. So either way you look at it, like the paths to Derrick Henry failing are Zay Flowers catches a touchdown or 2, or Bateman catches 2, which can happen.
Yeah. So I'm like, just based on the ownership, the price tag, he's only 4,600. He's only getting, 20% here. What does fantasy points have him at now? They have him at 16% ownership, which is more in line with what I've seen on Bateman on a 2-game slate for a guy who's in a good matchup and just like generally a like boom bust type player. Like, you just look at his game log on the year in terms of fantasy points scored. He has 23-point fantasy game, 17.4, 22.1, 15.8, and then even like 11.8, 12.3. Like, these are playable games. Like, just like he's a yeah. So
I'll tell you straight up, I'll play Calvin Austin over Bateman. That's where I'm at.
We're making a beer bet. You want to make a beer bet on Rashad Bateman? Like, they're different prices.
Let's make a bourbon bet.
Let's make a bourbon bet for when you guys come and we're all together in person. Yeah, we're making a bourbon bet.
I'll cover your bourbon for a night. Night.
Ooh,
I will cover your bourbon for a night, Neil.
And vice versa.
Right. If Rashad Bateman outscores Calvin Austin.
All right, we're making a full-on night of bourbon bet. Drew and I just made a 1 beer bet. And DBro and I are going to make a night of bourbon bets. I'm taking Rashad Bateman. He's taking.
Now I'm saying this also. You're not ordering every single drink. It's not top shelf. Like,
I'm taking Maker's Mark. Maker's Mark every time.
I don't make football salaries, okay, sir. This can't be a 55K.
Neil drinks cheap bourbon. You're good.
Yeah, I think Maker's Mark. You're
like
fine.
A cheap drunk. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Mateo says audio cut out, and it sounded like you said, okay. I thought he. Yeah.
Well,
interesting. All right.
We'll have to clip that later.
If it does, that would be funny. Yoshivas at 16% ownership. So none of us are really taking a stand on Yoshivas. It sounds like seems fine. 16%. Does anybody disagree with that?
Yeah, I'm gonna play him. I liked what I saw from him last week. Now, granted, they threw it a ton and it was a wild game, but he could have easily scored a touchdown that week or last week. He could have scored 60 yards and a touchdown, and he would be a must-have.
He scored a touchdown the last time they played, I think.
He did. It was. I just saw it. It was like 40 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah. 3 grabs for 35 and a score. So he's in play, dude. He's honestly, I should like him more than I do. I'll own that. I should like him more than I do, considering the other plays in this slate. And if I love Burrow that much, like you just got to bet on, does he score a touchdown or not? Because his stat lines, I mean, he might not even score and still make the damn optimal. Like, if you look at his stat lines, like, he's pretty good for like at least 3 and 30 or 3 and 40 every single game. So if he gets a touchdown, he probably makes the optimal. Like, we honestly, I mean, I'll own this. I probably, like, I'm capitulating here live on the show, but like, I should love Yoshivas more than I do.
He's on the field for 30 plus Burrow throws. I mean, that's not a bad bet for anybody. You and I could be optimal in that situation.
Like, I think in that range, I think my hierarchy goes Calvin Austin, Andre Yoshivas, and Rashad Bateman.
Oh, it's on. We're okay. I'm going Bateman, Calvin Austin, Andre Yoshivas.
You better be buying a damn Bateman jersey too.
I mean, I might.
Bateman, Austin, Yoshi. Is that what you just said, Neil?
That is, yeah. So we're on the same page. DBro is the outlier here. Okay. Fair enough. What about Elijah Moore? Are we considering Elijah Moore in that? He's getting 25% ownership here.
Not. That's too high.
He's getting 25% at both places. He's only 30. He is cheaper though. He's only 38.
So 25% of people don't like winning money. Got it.
Yeah, and his ADA is so low. And if this was a Jameis game, then sure. I just want to see tomorrow.
I can't, dude. Like, not with the quarterback play, not with a half of DTR. Like, if I'm gonna, all right, I'll say this: we haven't gotten to tight ends. The only 2 Browns that are in my player pool for this week is Deontay Foreman and Jordan Akins. Okay. I'm not playing any of the Browns outside of those 2.
I will also, I don't think I would give any athlete any crap, but if I was having a drink with Elijah Moore, I think eventually, maybe after our 3rd drink, I think I would tell him in that Broncos game on Jameis's 2nd pick 6, if you just touch the defender,
right. That's right. I forgot about that.
And he would have to pay my bourbon night of drinks.
Well, see, if we're having drinks with players, I have a bone to pick with Greg Newsome and a long Najee run that cost me $15K in best ball a few years ago. Mm-hmm. If we're sitting here drinking with Cleveland Browns players,
Sure.
So.
The only player that I'm ever likely to have a drink with is Justin Steele, and he's been only good to me when I play him in DFS. So I don't think I have any bones to pick with him, unfortunately.
You only bet his overs, right, Neil?
Obviously, I would never bet a Justin Steele under. I'm always cheering for Justin Steele, regardless of circumstance.
Okay.
Don't worry about that.
Just checking. Yeah. Had to be asked.
So we were just asked, and we're getting there. Any dart throws that we like? Any long shot wide receiver plays? The best cheap options who could get lucky and score like Justin Watson last week. So I mean, we've already kind of gotten into it with Rashad Bateman and Calvin Austin and Andre Yoshivas. But is there anybody else that we like? We kind of like Mike Williams, Mike Woods, Van Jefferson.
No.
I mean, I'm just looking if there's anybody under like 5, because if we're talking Justin Watson, who was at 1% owned, I mean, it's like who could possibly get there?
I think the answer to that question for me is not a wide receiver. It's Jordan Akins.
Yeah, that's a good call.
If you forced my hand to grab a wide receiver who's projecting at under 5% ownership, it's probably Nelson Aguilar.
Good call. I like that.
He's back. He's going to be on the field.
I like that.
And he just needs a deep touchdown to pay off. So, like a Justin Watson, right?
Yeah. Neil doesn't want it. Neil's not having your Aguilar love. It takes away from his Bateman love.
That's right. Yeah, screw that. It's all Bateman. No, I don't hate that. I was just looking at Mike Woods is actually like he ran 73% of the routes last week.
He's questionable for tomorrow. He's dealing with a knee issue.
Okay.
He looked good. He looked good. He'll be the 3rd receiver in that game. I just don't really want receivers on that team.
Fair.
Yep.
No. So Aguilar over Tylan Wallace for you?
Yeah.
I don't even think Tylan sees the field unless it's like true blowout mode. Like All right. Tylan Wallace and Tez Walker need to be X'd out of player pools.
Fair.
Yeah, we have a question on how we're friends with Steele. And nice Kevin there is right. Neil, I know you're a big softball player. You actually coach Justin Steele in your offseason, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. Justin Steele.
Taught him everything he knows. Everything he knows in the beer league.
Exactly right. Oh, I didn't see Steele. Steele is still here, and he just sent us a lineup, by the way. He's handling the lineup as we go.
Did you see Connor's question? His last comment.
The School of Hard Knocks. I mean, is that true, DBro? Did you go to the School of Hard Knocks?
Always, man. Grew
up in the South, so I just imagine everybody in the South, like, there's no real schools. It's just all Hard Knocks there. Is that right?
Yeah.
You're all. Do you see?
I went to the University of Toledo.
Do you see Justin Flex in that lineup that you just?
I'm about to put this. This is going to be my my banner on all social media. Neil was my pitching coach from Justin Steele. Love that. Yeah, exactly.
You should use the picture that I photoshopped your head onto Steele.
That was pretty good too. That was pretty good too.
Yeah. I figured you like that.
All right. Any other wide receiver talk that we need to get to before we move on? I mean, Van Jefferson. Actually, let me pull up the Steelers. Just look at like who ran the routes last week. Is there anything?
Steele, drop that in Discord. I want to see this lineup Neil's talking about. I don't have access to my phone.
I'll read it off to you right now. It's essentially Steele.
Don't read his lineup. Come on.
No. I'm the build. It's essentially what are as usual. Steele and I on the same page. It is a Russ stack 3-3 of Steelers and Bengals, and then his wide receiver in the flex, Nelson Aguilar. And this was before we commented on it.
All right,
but Justin, you gotta swap that. Aguilar in the flex doesn't work. You need that earlier.
Oh, good note.
I'm always giving him shit on that.
I know.
You're giving him shit on his lineups. I'm giving him a shit for always having his phone at 5% charged.
I don't know how he does it. Like, how does it never go dead?
It stresses me out.
It does.
Yeah.
It's like looking at somebody's phone with 75 emails too. I bet your phone also has that, like 215 emails.
You don't want to see my emails. Like,
dude, my eyes gonna start twitching. I just can't.
I'm pulling up mine real quickly. I am at.
Let's see who wins. Who
35,
wins?
Oh, both 35, of you are psychos?
35,807.
Oh, sweet hell.
89,000.
How are we friends?
Oh, shit.
I don't even understand.
Kevin Steele says Justin is actually his cousin. I told him everything he knows. Okay. That's
there you go.
A lot of Steels out there.
Oh, baby.
All right. Any other wide receivers we need to talk about? I pulled this up and it's not particularly illuminating. I mean, Mike Williams, 46% route participation last week. That's not
probably Mike, right?
Yeah.
You're praying that his old ass can get open on a deep route.
Yeah.
Like 150 max dart throws, I'd say, for both Mike Williams and Van Jefferson, but nothing really standing out there.
I like it still. It's a nice lineup.
All right, tight ends. Let's move on to talk about some tight ends, and the chalkiest on the slate is Jordan Akins, getting 29.5% according to. Let me pull up fantasy points.
I'm surprised by that. I mean,
me too.
Maybe I shouldn't be, but I'm surprised by that.
All right, I'm going to pull up fantasy points. Do they have it the same way? Oh, shoot. All right, that didn't work.
Freiermuth is the best tight end play of the slate.
Love it. We're on the same page.
He's easily the best tight end play of the slate.
Whoa, Steele actually beat us. I didn't think he was going to beat us on the unread emails. Wow.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Steele, have you ever hold on. Steele, have you ever read an email? Like, I have to ask that question if you have that many unread emails.
He's all text. He only texts.
I'm gonna have a nervous breakdown. That blows my mind.
I used to actually be pretty diligent.
I don't even understand how y'all function on a daily basis with that.
Bro, I like that you thought a high number of unread emails was 75.
Right,
that would drive me nuts, dude.
Yeah. All right. Jordan Akins.
Fair Steele.
47% ownership according to fantasy points.
Wow. You know what? That comes back to Drew's point about people searching for value in ways like that. Goes back to the Russ conversation of people trying to fit in stuff. That's what I'm tying that to.
Yeah.
That's way too high. Good Lord.
And you were super in on him before you saw.
I am. But damn, that's I like him a lot, but good Lord, there's so many other paths to failure for him, even at that price point. Like,
here's a question. Do you guys think it's a 2 tight end slate? I have a strong stance on this, but I'm curious your thoughts.
I don't. Shit.
If
you're playing Russ and you're heavy on Russ, I'm saying it's not.
Yeah. No, I do think it is, because there are a couple of tight ends that I really love here.
The my only counter to that is you play 2 tight ends when you need the salary relief, and you do tomorrow, no doubt about that. But the counter that I have is, would you rather play Gesicki at 3,600 or Foreman at 4,900? Like, I almost feel like it's a 3 running back slate.
I agree with that.
I do agree.
I agree with that.
So I think it's going to be in my flex. I'm going to have more tight ends and running backs than wide receivers, which is sort of different than usual.
No, I agree.
But I think I'll still have a good amount of 2 tight end, because there are a number of tight ends that look pretty strong as far as value goes on the slate.
I'll say it's not a 2 tight end slate, because the other differing factor that I am versus the field is the price. I'm making up the price difference because of how much I'm fading George Pickens and saving that 2K. So that's allowing me to balance stuff in the into the 4K range, or like I agree. I think it's a 3 running back slate. Like I think it's Henry, Herbert, and one of Warren or Foreman that makes the optimal. So like I'm not playing two tight ends, because I think like the other part about that is there's too many paths to failure for Andrews and Likely, that I just think Freiermuth is the clear, far and away best tight end play of the slate.
All right. Well, okay. Let's get into it. Let's start with the top, though, with Jordan Akins as the highest owned tight end.
That's insane.
I mean, only 29.5% according to RotoGrinders. That's more reasonable. He's only 3,000. What is the Akins game log?
He got a lot of targets last week.
8 targets last week.
He didn't do shit the week before when he was still the starter for Njoku.
Yep.
I only know that specifically because I played some of Jordan Akins the week before, and he didn't.
I'm with you. Like, he doesn't have a good quarterback, and he's going to be chalky, and he's, like you said, Freiermuth is just the better tight end play on the slate.
There's not a big enough price discrepancy to make him that good of a play. Like, if you were telling me Freiermuth was like in the mid 4K range, he's 3,900? Like, that's not a big enough difference for me to like say, oh, I need to play Jordan Akins. Like, it's not. Like, Isaiah Likely is a straight up better play than him for $300 more. Like, I would rather go that route.
Yeah. Do we just need to talk about Freiermuth? Because it sounds like we love Freiermuth.
Why the hell is he at 15%? Is that real? What are y'all seeing anywhere else? That's insane to me.
15% here, and then lower on RotoGrinders has him at
that's
12%.
Crazy. I'm playing all the damn Freiermuth.
Yeah, we are on the same page. Drew, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Freiermuth. And I just pulled up schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed. Looks really good. What do you are you on the same page with us, Drew?
Yeah, it's Freiermuth. I think the biggest stand that I'm taking at tight end tomorrow is probably fading Mike Gesicki, who, I got to be honest.
Oh God, I'm fading him too.
He looked great last week. I just don't buy it. And Adam shipped my money, and I had conversations on Gesicki earlier this year. I'm just not a believer, especially when they're all healthy. And I think what we saw last week was a little bit fluky. I'm going to fade and get more ownership elsewhere.
It was fluky. That was more of a matchup thing with Burrow taking when they were giving him versus.
Yeah, I was wondering if you had a take on it, because I can't explain why we saw so much Gesicki last week. It didn't make sense. It was
the Denver linebackers are not very good in coverage, so they were eating up the middle part of the field.
Okay.
And basically Denver was saying, we're going to try to take away Chase and stuff. So yeah, no, I think the Gesicki, if you look back at his previous game logs with T active, he has been a damn ghost, dude.
Yeah.
It has been and I'm talking like previous week, like I stopped writing him up for the primer, but like previous weeks, I was just quoting the same shit. Like, he's got like a 5%, 6% target share with T active.
Yep.
Like, if T was out, I would have, and the other part about it is Gesicki is not his numbers versus single high, which Pittsburgh runs a crap ton, aren't great. So,
yeah, I agree. Like Gesicki getting 26% ownership, just a little bit too high for me. So yeah, we're all on the same page. Gesicki getting too high owned. Freiermuth, I just pulled up schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed over the past 5 weeks. Second best matchup. Cincinnati. I feel like it's been 8 years now that Cincinnati has just been giving.
That is a staple. That is a staple of every damn year of Lou Anarumo's defense. It is a staple. They are all, and it's a lot of how they run their coverage structures. But if you look back at the last few years, it is a staple. They are bad. So like this year, Cincinnati has given up the second most fantasy points per game to tight ends. Last year, they were fourth most. The year before that, they didn't give up a lot of points, but they gave up a lot of receiving yards. Like they were top 12 in receiving yardage. So like it is legit a staple of how they run defense.
You and I, DBro, actually chatted about this preseason. And you opened my eyes to this, and you're right. And I've been targeting them ever since.
Yeah, I mean they religiously every single year, even going back to what is this 2021, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th most fantasy points per game. They gave up the 5th most receiving yards to tight ends. So like it's I mean the proof's in the pudding, man.
Yep.
Once upon a time,
I can't believe he's not that or put it this way, he's that unpopular on this slate. That's crazy to me.
Once upon a time, there was a young Neil Orfield who played Harrison Bryant in a matchup against the Bengals. His first ever start in the NFL, and Neil played 16%, scored 2 touchdowns. Neil won $1 million off it, and
he did.
And Drew lost.
Oh, I remember that week. That was the I do remember.
It was the only good game of Harrison Bryant's career.
Yep,
in terms of
I remember that week. I remember the Harrison Bryant week. I played a shit ton of him that week too.
Yep. But back to the slate at hand. So we're all like the Bengals are bad against against tight ends. Also, just looking at Freiermuth's game log, it's like, okay, last week he had 8 targets. That's kind of promising as far as trends go. And then also the last game against Cincinnati, his second highest targets of the season, 7. So like feels like he's probably going to be targeted just based on like recent trends against this team, et cetera, et cetera.
Last thing I'll say on him too is remember going back to why I'm fading why I'm fading George Pickens versus Bengals too high coverage versus too high. Pat Freiermuth has a 15% target share, and he is second on the team right behind George Pickens with a 21% first read share.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We got a question from the audience. Major League Baseball All-Star Justin Steele asked, outside of Muth, who is the best play 4,100 and down? Calvin Austin? Do we think it's Calvin Austin?
Oh yeah.
Rashad Bateman does not qualify.
If 4,100, if it's 4,100, it's a cutoff. I love Austin.
Yeah.
Love him.
I guess you said outside of Muth. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's probably right.
It's Freiermuth. Or I mean, it's Austin. I love him.
Yeah. Other than that, it could be Yoshi, and that's
yeah, Yoshi, and that's about it, man. I mean, like it's not all these other backup scrub running backs. It's definitely not that. Like we are hoping that one of those running backs gets 10 to 12 touches and scores a touchdown, when the real answer about that is probably none of them make the optimal.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do we feel about the Ravens, guys? So Likely coming in 25.5% ownership, Andrews 20% ownership. Likely's only 3,300 to Andrews 4,500. That's at RotoGrinders. Let's see. Fantasy Points has Andrews 22% and Likely 27%. I don't know. It's a tricky situation with the Ravens.
I would rather play Likely than Andrews.
Okay. Is there a reason beyond the price?
So beyond the price, but also going back to the coverage structure, like versus single high, Likely's gotten a lot of run. Like he's got 2.0 yards per route run against single high. And even if you're playing the blowout aspect of this game, if they pull Andrews, Likely might get pulled too. But there's also a scenario where, like, if it's garbage time, maybe he stays out there and it's not like Charlie Kohler too.
Yeah.
So you play that aspect of it. Like, not like him being script proof, but in the evidence of a blowout, if they pull everybody, they can't pull everybody. You know what I mean? Like they can't sit every single freaking person. So maybe like Likely in that scenario also gets garbage time run.
Yeah, it's interesting. Drew, how do you feel about Likely versus Andrews?
I'd probably still go Andrews, but I don't feel strongly over either of them. I think they're both going to be in my pool. I think my only stand that I'm taking at tight end is removing Gesicki from my player pool and then letting it run from there.
Do you think Freiermuth's the top play at the position too?
Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
I think we're all in agreement there.
Yeah, I think I force probably only one tight end per lineup tomorrow.
Oh wow.
In 150. Yeah, I think so. And then remove Gesicki.
All right. I definitely will not be forcing it. I think Freiermuth is just a great point per dollar play. And I think Andrews and Likely just have enough upside at their prices.
I think they both could pay off, yeah.
And the wide receivers are just so weak that like I feel like it's risky to
what is Andrews' price point?
4,500.
45.
So he honestly, if you're gonna, he's the reason to even consider two tight end is playing Andrews and playing Freiermuth, and you're making the bet that all the 4K wide receivers disappoint, and they're the two 4K wide receivers that basically make the optimal.
Yeah.
I will say, somebody asked earlier, do you think it would be crazy to play Andrews and Likely together? And I don't think it would be. Like, I think they're not negatively correlated enough that you can't do it on 2 games.
Much threading the needle. It's being too cute to me.
Like, I guess that might be like let's look at their weekly fantasy points. And this is still like a small sample size that we're looking at here, but this is at least worth sort of looking at, I think.
No, I don't disagree.
Have they ever had a good game at the same time? I actually don't remember if they have. Like I feel like it's small enough sample.
It's a good question.
I'm sure they both scored touchdowns in the same game.
That's a good question. I actually don't know.
14.6 and 8.7, 18.9 and 4. Okay, so here's week 13. They both had pretty good games. Week 16, they both had usable for a 2-game slate games. So yeah, not like they do appear to be pretty negatively correlated, but they've had a couple games where it's like on a 2-game slate, this would probably be serviceable.
Yeah,
this would definitely.
I think if you're gonna play it, the better bet to make is that Likely makes the optimal and Andrews doesn't, because I think there's too much negative correlation for the two of them to smash together. But looking at what we're looking at here, Neil, I mean, like if it's not Andrews, it's going to be Likely. So just make the bet on Likely and not Andrews.
Sure. Connor says he made a bet on over 4 targets for Gesicki. Dude, do you think he fucked up?
I would take his, 4 targets is fine. I would take his under of, I think it was like 30 receiving yards. Yeah, 30.5. I would take the under on that. The 4 targets. I don't think I would bet it, but
I wouldn't bet the 4 targets.
I don't think it's terrible.
No, I don't think it's terrible. I mean, by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, like, I would just, I'm with you. I would just bet the under for receiving yardage because, like, I mean, legit, like, past this big game, 14, 37, 24. He's got some goose eggs in here, too. So,
I need to, because of super chat,
you, Kev. I see you.
I have no choice.
I see you.
Super chat from Kevin Skill says, Neil, you're the man. Okay. So far, we're all 100% truth going on so far. And then he says, can you tell DBro he's an idiot for me? He will get it. Also,
that's Kev's way of saying that he loves me.
Thanks. I'll listen off the air.
That's Kev's way of saying that he loves me.
All right.
Everybody's got their love languages.
Kevin's love language.
Kevin Steele's is there's only one.
So wait.
When
so the first sentence is, Neil, you are the man.
Yep.
What do I make of that? If his love language
is he's buttering you up, so you'd read it. That's all.
All right. Okay.
Just shameless buttering up.
All right. Any other tight end talk? So Drew wants to fade Gesicki. I think I'm probably like 19.5%. I'd be probably okay with, but 20. I guess is.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be.
I'm
more
probably with you.
I'm guessing it's more than 20%, only because people are going to see, you're going to have those toilet builders tomorrow morning who are going to look at last week's game log and see Gesicki, and they're going to click on him.
We all love Freiermuth. We're all kind of, I mean, I guess DBro loves Likely more than Andrews. I'm like kind of probably matching the field.
I'm kind of like Likely is if I'm playing Likely, he's the last player in the build that just makes it work.
Yeah.
Are we doing any Drew Sample, Darnell Washington, anything like that?
Oh shit, no, I don't hate my
In
life.
Showdown, sure, but not in Maine.
Not in Maine.
Yeah, that seems fair. All right. Let's move on. Let's talk defenses. If we have any thoughts on defenses, share them. Otherwise, let's play around with lineups, take a brief look at Showdown, and call it a night.
I'm playing the Ravens and the Bengals defenses. I'm not playing the other two.
I just ran my build, and top owned defense. Sorry, second highest owned player is Ravens at 84%.
Okay, so you're playing a ton of the Ravens.
Yep.
It seems like a good bet against Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Bailey Zappi.
If there's one of the teams that gets a freaking defensive touchdown, and that's the difference maker, because it's the Ravens, and they're going to be chalky, and it's just one of those things where you just don't care.
Justin Steele says, "I'm an elite toilet builder. I don't stand up."
We've seen your coffee videos, Justin. We know.
It's either his leg goes numb or his phone dies. Those are the two things that keep Justin off the toilet. It would be my guess.
No lie. Have y'all ever gotten up and like you could feel the ring from sitting there on your ass that you've been sitting there for so long? Yeah. I think we've all been there.
Completely dead. Everybody's been there. Yeah. This day and age, everybody's on their phone.
That's what's called best ball season.
Yeah. Okay. So we've talked through the slate in its entirety. Let me pull up DraftKings real quick.
Yeah, while you're doing that, I'll read off my exposures. Number 1, Jamar Chase. Number 2, Ravens defense. Number 3, Russell Wilson. Number 4, Freiermuth. Number 5, Foreman, Herbert, Warren, Pickens, Henry, T, Calvin, Yoshi, Najee.
All right, so I am going to auto insert Jamar Chase, Pat Freiermuth, and the Baltimore Ravens defense into a lineup. And now I want the three of us to build a lineup together around these three, because it seems like we're consensus. These three are like the best plays.
Yep. Toss Calvin Austin in there for me.
All right, Calvin Austin.
And I want to prove a point to DBro that you almost have to play Russ Wilson a lot. So let's wait on quarterback, because you're going to see that salary is going to be really
up.
Yeah.
All right, let's start. So do we want to play Derrick Henry, Jaylen Warren, Khalil Herbert, other? What do we think?
Henry.
All right, so you're forcing us to Russell Wilson, by the way. By that decision, it's like, all right, that guys it probably.
Yeah,
I don't care. Sure.
Do we like Khalil Herbert or Jaylen Warren
or Foreman?
Yeah, that's a good call. We could go wide receiver first, I guess.
Sure.
Man, let's go wide receiver.
I mean, I would be Rashad Bateman team, but could go Higgins. We
already have our winning 4K wide receiver, sir. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced by that, but okay, fine.
Never were.
Zay Flowers.
Zay, yeah,
Zay.
All right, so we've got a running back.
I think if we're playing for the Baltimore blowout, we have to get 2 Ravens in there.
We have Derrick Henry and Zay. Yeah.
So now you need the salary already, and I almost think you have to go Foreman or Herbert.
If we go Foreman, I mean, we still need to go probably Herbert. We can't even get to Russ if we go to Herbert at this point. I don't think. Right, Russ is 55, right? No, he's 53. So that would fit.
That's the lineup.
How many times would this lineup be duped? Do we think? I mean, Russ is pretty low owned. Austin a little bit. This is gonna be duped 1,000 times.
Yeah, this will be duped a lot.
I'm gonna enter it anyway, so we can double check that tomorrow.
Okay.
Do we want to build another main slate lineup, or should we take a brief look at Showdown?
Yeah, let's try it with.
Let's
Burrow.
build another main. All
right.
We'll look at all the Showdown stuff. We gotta build one Burrow lineup.
Pause really quick. No, you're good. There's a really weird button when you click bulk enter on DraftKings, because I'll do that. There's a button that says add 1 to each tournament. Who the hell clicks that? No one has ever.
Mock Lovin clicks that.
Sure. But one.
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah. But besides mutants.
I can't believe that's even a button. I'll make you click it after we insert. I can't believe that's a button.
I don't have the money to click it. You're not gonna my DraftKings funds are not gonna
to each lineup. Like that to each tournament. That's so weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
All right. Wait, so what do we want to do here? You both had, I thought, different
Burrow.
All right, we're doing Burrow and Chase, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so we're already clicks that. Note OM. I don't think anyone clicks that. Even Mock Levin, he's entering a different way. I don't think anyone ever clicks that.
EM2.
I don't.
I think Empire Maker. I think probably.
Yeah, maybe he would. Yeah, you're right. He would click that.
That's fair. Okay. That's a name I haven't heard in a very long time.
Yeah, right. All right, Burrow and Chase. Sorry.
We forcing T.
Yeah, that's gonna
make it work with T.
Should we try? I kind of want to see if it's even possible.
Let's try.
We're down to 44-66.
Then I feel like you're gonna have to start like with Herbert
and
Foreman, and you're gonna have to fade Henry. Or it's gonna have to be Herbert and Foreman.
You have to fade Henry. You definitely have
to Herbert and can we get away with Herbert and Warren
instead of Foreman?
I don't even think we can. Or we can try.
Let's try.
All right, we're at 39-75. I mean, we could play a defense.
The
you
Bengals.
Would have to take Bengals defense.
Pick the Bengals.
Yeah.
And then
cheap tight end. We go
Akins.
Then what are we at?
We got Bateman and Austin to play.
Yeah, we got plenty of money.
Yeah, you need some Ravens.
So much money. Yeah, we got to get Bateman in this one, and then Najee Harris. Deontay Foreman.
Yeah,
we have 400 left over right now. Where do we want to upgrade?
I don't think there's.
That's fine.
Yeah, we don't need to. Like on a 2-game slate, it actually makes a lot of sense. Macro talk, like leaving.
Yeah, and I mean the 2v2 is easy too. Like if you wanted to go Austin and Freiermuth or anything like that. Like I mean, this is workable though, man. Like
it's a good lineup.
Here's the only problem though. You have Ravens projected to score 4 touchdowns tomorrow, and you only have 1 Raven in the lineup. That's
but
it's weird.
So we should put likely in there over Akins.
Can we fit that? Yeah, we can, huh?
Yeah, we can fit that easily.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful.
All right. I like that there.
So you have Bateman going for
You have
Bengals
to
dominate.
You have to swap your flex though.
No, I don't. You can't make me. All right.
Your peer pressure doesn't work on me.
All right. So it's Foreman running back, and then Warren in the flex. Okay. Yeah. Fair. Okay. Beauty. Look at that lineup.
It's fine.
It's a fine lineup. Look at that enthusiasm from Drew. Okay.
I probably have.
Yeah.
What's that?
All right.
I probably have that build.
Probably.
Oh, here it is. Okay, so my top lineup right now out of my 150 is Burrow, Foreman, Herbert, Chase, Jamar, T, Calvin, Freiermuth, Najee, and Ravens D.
Sounds.
So it's a 4.
Do you have any Ravens in there?
No. See, you need to have at least
That's
one.
The problem. You got to have at
really
least one.
Do you have both Najee and Jaylen?
No, not in that one.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna take a brief look at the first showdown slate between the Ravens and the Browns.
Can confirm that it's duped by nice Kevin.
Okay, so captain ownership, Lamar Jackson getting 26%, Derrick Henry 21%, and then a big drop off down to 10% going to Zay, 8% Jeudy, 5% Foreman, 5% Bailey Zappi. This is a gross showdown slate with both the quarterbacks on the Browns being theoretically in play. Who do we like at captain? I mean, Lamar just looks great at 26%, right?
Lamar or Henry.
Like
I think they're the favorite.
Right.
And if you're going large field, then it's Zay Flowers would be my favorite.
Okay.
Go contrarian. But I think in most your builds and most your exposure, it should be Lamar or Derrick Henry.
Okay. And then in the flex, just looking at like contrarian plays. I mean, Bailey Zappi 35%. Like it's split. Like I don't even like that. Like usually I like the cheap quarterbacks who are not getting much ownership, but like with the quarterback being split, can't even get excited about it. Bateman, I love at 21%.
Yeah,
6,600. Michael Wood's kind of interesting for Showdown. 1,013% own on Showdown.
He is, but I just
say it again.
He's getting 13% ownership. He's only 1,000.
I would rather play John Kelly.
He played 73% of snaps last week.
Michael Woods. He's hurt, and he's got shit can quarterbacks.
I won't play him if he's inactive.
I don't. Well,
Nelson Aguilar only 5% at 3,400 for Aguilar.
Yeah, I was going to say let's make a better case for Aguilar.
There you go.
All right. What about kickers defense? What is the Ravens defense? 30%. I mean, seems high until you look at the
should be higher. To be honest,
that seems fine actually. Do we like Keaton Mitchell at 17%, or what is Rasheen Ali?
Yeah, you're about to see Rasheen Ali carrying nothing.
0% is what this. I mean, he's obviously not going to be 0%, but like, seems pretty good.
And you play Rasheen Ali. Is he also cheaper than Woods?
Yeah.
In Showdown, he's interesting.
Yep.
He's more expensive. He's 2,000, whereas Woods is 1,000, I believe. Yeah, 1,000. So he's more expensive than Woods, but kind of an interesting Showdown slate.
It is. I doubt the prize pools are very high, right?
50,000 first for the flagship.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah. All right, let's.
It's the usual Sunday for Drew.
A-Rod says thrash if Woods out. I think that makes sense. Jamari thrash.
Sure.
Makes sense.
If Woods is out.
Makes sense. I don't like it, but it makes sense.
We got a question from Connor of a brief FanDuel look. I doubt we spend 3 hours on that, but I just wanted to call out, if you look at running backs really quick, guess who's cheaper than Khalil Herbert and Foreman?
I'm going to just find
Jaylen Warren.
5,800 on FanDuel.
It's not like he's a lot cheaper, but I click him every time.
But like, none of the prices are accounting for the fact that he has been leading them in snaps.
Yeah.
He has been their workhorse back, not Najee.
Yeah.
It's been a 2-week sample, so it hasn't caught up in the pricing.
I do just want to point out though, Khalil Herbert only $200 more though too. So the ownership will be in check, because once Khalil Herbert, assuming Chase Brown is ruled out, Khalil Herbert's going to project way better, and he's only $200 more. So I think the ownership stays kind of low on Warren.
It will.
That is
because everything's going to move over to Khalil Herbert, and he's going to be mega. Especially you know how it goes. Like when people are they're reacting to the news, they overreact to the news. So they're like, oh, I really want to play Khalil Herbert. So it's like they're just going to start plugging him in everywhere.
Yep. Yeah. I think on FanDuel, especially, it's with a half PPR. I think it's definitely a 3 running back slate.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Agreed. Yep.
Quarterback on FanDuel, kind of similar, like Lamar getting the most, Rusk only getting like 15%, Burrow in between, kind of the Browns getting forgotten.
I just think this discrepancy between Burrow and Lamar is kind of wild, man.
I've been playing so much more FanDuel recently. They give good promos, much better promos as of late. And I love that you don't have to. I mean, I like it and I don't like it. From a game theory perspective, I like that DraftKings forces you to go multiple low salary. But on FanDuel, it's kind of nice not having to do as much of the low salary game.
Yeah. Fair.
I've liked FanDuel pricing this year a lot more than DraftKings, just overall.
Yeah,
I feel like FanDuel's they've flipped. They've
upped their DFS game this year, and they're doing more promos, and I've liked their tournaments.
I like the way that they're pricing. It feels like FanDuel pricing these days feels like how DK was 2 to 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Rashad Bateman 6,000 on FanDuel, still 19.5%. Calvin Austin 17% ownership at 5,300. Does look pretty good there.
Pure sex. It's just wonderful.
Pure sex. Is
all the Calvin
Austin. On FanDuel, I don't think you can take anyone under Calvin Austin.
Agreed.
Yeah. Aguilar's there at 3% owned. So if you want to make that.
But it's not like it's that much of a salary savings.
No, but if Aguilar has a 40-yard touchdown and That's
I know, but like, I mean, like, to be honest, like, dude, like Calvin Austin's price is kind of ridiculous on FanDuel.
Fair, but like
for what he's done, touchdown equity. I mean, you look at his game logs too. Like, he is a clear, like, dude, like he's been getting 50, 60 receiving yards almost every other game.
Yeah, I'm just saying he's like he's 5.5x the ownership of Nelson Aguilar. Is he 5.5 times more likely to outscore Nelson Aguilar?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
He is. He is a consistent role when Aguilar does not.
True.
And the game script playing into it too.
Or I guess the better question would be not is he 5.5 times more likely to outscore him? Is he 5.5 times more likely to be a player that's going to be in the winning lineup, in like the optimal lineup?
I think he is.
I'm not totally confident in that, but I hear you. Might be.
Drew? What do you think?
Toss up.
Okay.
I wouldn't bet a beer on it.
Wouldn't bet a beer on it. All right. George Pickens, 27%, 7,400. Is that still a no-go?
I don't like him for all the reasons I said, like coverage matchup and everything like that. I just don't think it's a big Pickens game.
All right. Oh damn, Chris Williams, our Apple guy, coming over from Stochastic to show some support. Says no question, just showing some support. Was laying down and Sotex hit me up and let me know there was a night show, so popping on to show some support. Love to hear that. Appreciate you, Sotex, for bringing Chris here, and also love to see Chris here back in the fold live for the show. Good to see you, Chris, and appreciate the support there.
Sub the channel, people. Like the stream.
Thank you for the reminder. Frymouth again, 16%, 5,500 looks great.
16%. Wow.
I
have him at 69% right now. Nice.
That is nice.
I just can't believe he is the clear best play on tight end of this damn slate, and how that's insane to me, man. I didn't think we were going to get on here and he was under 20%.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It just feels like I like him so much as a play. It feels like this has to be wrong, right?
People are going to click Akins and people are going to chase Gesicki. I mean, it's
crazy.
Nadia says just liked 10 times. Can you just like it one more time, please, for me, Nadia? Just one more time. Thank you.
I mean, if you haven't hit 20s by now, are you even really watching the stream?
Well, it just needs to be an odd number is all I care about, so that it counts.
Oh, really? Whoa, interesting.
Because if it's an even number, it just takes off. It just takes off the like. If you hit it once, it likes it. If you hit it another time, it takes away the like.
Oh, you're playing 4D chess. I'm like, does Neil have some kind of problem with the odd and even numbers? Like, never mind.
No, it just
makes a lot more practical.
It takes away the like every second time. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Okay, I think that's enough of a look at FanDuel. I guess we can look at defenses. It's probably it's the same. Ravens the chalk. Bengals, Browns not getting much. Probably shouldn't. Yeah. All right. Should we make a lineup for this Ravens Browns showdown? Do we just want to start with Lamar Jackson or Derrick Henry?
Sure.
Yeah, Lamar.
Yeah, Lamar.
Yeah. I'm a big bro, but what do you guys think?
I was just gonna say if you're playing the big one, I do agree that you want to play Lamar in captain a lot. But with that being said, you're going to have to go elsewhere with some unique plays if you want a low split at first place.
Rashad Bateman, pretty low on 20%.
Sure.
Bucket.
Am I really going to get you to build a lineup without him? I don't think I can do it.
No, so don't even bother. Don't even try.
I'm not.
This is where you could go like Bateman and Likely or Bateman.
See?
Right?
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking Likely.
Really wanted to.
Yep, Likely was the next name. Yep, I agree.
And then you're unique enough.
Yep.
Do we want Ravens defense? Because that's like
Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, so now we have some salary. I mean, we could do like Derrick Henry and Rasheen Ali, or like Derrick Henry and.
Well, you can't.
We need somebody. No, you're right.
You got to put A Brown in there. You know,
is Foreman the best? I mean, if he's only 4,800.
Yes. Yeah. You got to plug him in and then see what you got left.
Anyone.
All right.
Almost.
So that's.
Oh, you can't.
So maybe
Wow.
Maybe
now.
So
maybe wait. Go back. Take Foreman out and put Derrick Henry in. What can we get to?
Well, no, you have to have Foreman, but then you would have to go likely to Aguilar.
We could do that.
To getting to who?
We could get Akins in here. We could play Akins here.
Sure. Yeah.
Would also work. Leaves 1,200 on the table, so we're not.
I'm down with that.
Super duped.
Yep. I love that.
No, but Connor, the Ravens D is much better the last couple of weeks. The last 4
they are a lot better. Yep.
All right, and then we're gonna do one more lineup for the other showdown slate, and then we're gonna call it. We're gonna take a brief look because this has been a long. It's been a very fun show for me, but it's been long. It's been long for an audience.
Bro, I think we passed long about an hour ago.
Yeah, we have.
And to your point, Drew, so since week 12, the Baltimore Ravens pass defense is allowing the lowest yards per attempt in the NFL.
There you go.
The lowest passer rating in the NFL. And the 10th lowest CPOE in the NFL. So no.
Wow, since week 12? That's
since
impressive.
Week 12. Yep. They are much better.
You know, they talked about it on the broadcast a little bit last week, and I couldn't tell you why. I couldn't replicate why they said, but they made some big structural changes to strengthen capacity.
They have. Yep.
Yeah. I forget. I've talked about it a few times, or like people have brought it up to me on streams. It was like one of the defensive backs has been playing. I forget who.
Yeah.
But so the ownership projections here have Chase Brown in. I think we're all assuming that Chase Brown is going to be out. So
he's out. He's gonna be out.
Moved Hamilton. That's Kyle Hamilton is the
Yep.
They moved Kyle Hamilton down. So and they were playing better with Kyle Hamilton. So that is the note. So these are kind of not that worth that much right now if we assume that Chase Brown is going to be out, because Khalil Herbert's ownership is obviously going to spike.
Yep.
And man, Khalil Herbert's super cheap. So he's going to be in.
He's going to have to be in there.
Yep. Yeah. Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris, though, both getting pretty low owned here. We have our Freiermuth. This is going to be an easy build for us. So let's just
easy build
it. Chase Brown, Jamar Chase in the captain spot.
Yep. Triple crown, baby. Let's go.
I assume we want Freiermuth. I assume we want Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, and you need Burrow.
Yep. Burrow. Khalil Herbert. Where is he? 4,000? 4,000.
Austin.
Calvin Austin.
What can you get to after him?
Where is he?
Right
6,200. All right. Yoshi. So now we're in an awkward place salary wise, but it allows us to leave some salary on the table. I mean, we could play Boswell.
Yeah, you could go kicker there.
York.
You can go kicker. Yeah.
Do we want to play Boswell? Who do we like a kicker? Boswell, York.
I mean, if you're playing the Bengals are scoring all these touchdowns and that's the optimal, then they're not going to be kicking a shit ton of field goals probably. So I would play Boswell.
There you go. 1,600 left on the table. We're avoiding some dupes here.
Yeah, that's fair. You have like Freiermuth and Austin catching 5 balls each, and then they lay up with a couple of kicks.
Yep. Whereas Burrow and Chase are just scoring.
I mean, we've seen how many weeks in a row, dude. Pull up, click on Boswell. His scores have been kind of ridiculous this year because the Steelers have sucked so bad in the damn red zone, dude.
Well, and Tomlin doesn't realize that he needs to go for it, and he'll lay up for field
Keep
goal.
rolling down, Neil. Like, so outside of those last few games,
look at that,
bro. He has been scoring insane amounts of freaking points this year because they suck ass in the red zone. They're terrible.
That's great. 26. Damn, he's had
he has had some ridiculous games, dude.
Yeah. All right, I like it. We're leaving 69 on the table. That's a beauty.
Yeah. And then actually, before you click anything else, click bulk enter for me.
Yeah. That's not going to happen. I mean, it wouldn't. It would just say you need to deposit, and I would say I don't have the money for that shit. So, no real concern there.
Neil took down a tournament and he duped with himself 17 times.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that does it. That does it for the show.
I don't think we can talk about anything else. I mean, unless we want to try to make this to 3 hours. But, you know,
are you gonna do a Harry Potter marathon tonight, DBro?
I'm down with it. Yeah. Always, dude.
All right, so the next 3 hours is us watching Harry Potter movies.
We're just gonna watch Harry Potter together. Yeah. on playback.
Don't threaten me with a good time, boys.
That's right. That's right.
Threaten me with a good time.
All right. Well, where can people find you guys? Do you have any content coming up? Anything like that?
DBro.
What was that? Your bedroom?
Beauty before age. Go ahead, Drew.
You can find me on Twitter at the same name. Justin and I need to do a podcast one of these days. We've been slacking, so we'll do something soon. But if you find me on Twitter, then I'll post when we do something.
Playoff DFS, I hear, is calling all of our names.
Yes, we need to do it.
We need to do a stream soon on playoff best ball too. That would be kind of fun if we could work something out there.
I'm down with that.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. DBro, you're at DBro_FFB.
Yep. All the things are Fantasy Pros, Betting Pros. Follow me on the Betting Pros app. I've got a few bets in. I don't have a ton of bets in yet because books are being finicky because they don't know who the hell is playing and stuff like that. But I'll have more added before kickoff as they drop. The very last primer of the season is out, has been updated. I'll keep making tweaks and updating stuff, but it's hopefully you're not playing fantasy this week unless you really hate yourself. That's out of DFS and betting.
I mean it when I tell you, DBro, and I mentioned this in the chat earlier. I think you missed it. You were looking up some stats, but DBro really took my DFS game to a whole nother level. Follow him for all things.
Shit, you're being too damn kind.
Did you also mean what you said when you said and then Neil brought it back down to
yeah.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. All right. Thank you both for joining on the show, even though Drew is kind of a dick. No, love you both. Thank you for coming on the stream. Thank you all for hanging out with us on the stream today. Let's win some money on this beautiful Saturday. Hopefully we win some money. And if you're not already, I just want to say it one more time. Please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Trying to grow the channel, trying to get to 5,000 by the end of the NFL season. Of course, check out Fantasy Pros. Check out the No Huddle podcast with Fantasy Drew and Justin Steele if you haven't already done so. It's good stuff. Hearing those guys.
Good spot to listen to Two Fish. Yeah,
to Two Fish. Yeah, exactly.
Get to know what the field's doing.
Let's get out of here. Let's get lucky. Let's win some money this week. Thank you all very much. I'll be back Sunday Night Football on this channel 85 minutes prior to lock. I will see you then.
Love you guys.